Getting live. Getting live tonight. Getting live. Getting live. Getting live tonight. Getting live. Getting loud. Getting loud.
Did you shower?
Silence. Ring, ring, ring. You're so disrespectful, like... Hello, synths and virgins, and welcome back to Krown's Magical!
No.
Disrespectful, Kate.
Oh, you done goofed. You didn't even hit your line. Holy shit. Did you shower? Oh, baby. Oh, fucking baby. We're back. We're back. And I'm feeling better. And it's good in time as well right now, as well as I turn off my damn sound over here. It's just weird hearing myself coming in through the microphone twice there. My apologies on that. But with that in mind, I do want to be wishing you a happy, healthy start to this nice little new week of new opportunities, of which there should be several in this coming week. A couple of traps in our midst, and navigating through these traps is going to be the big bad topic of the day, I do suspect. So with that in mind, I do want to say, welcome to all the people in here. I see that we got almost 1,000 people watching right now, which is insane. 250 people have already liked the video. Nicely done, and major thank you for that. Very, very generous of the crypto crew here, the Hair Krown crypto crew here, as I do see that we have our mod squad in. What's up, Nikki Page? Good morning to you. African crypto warlord, my good man, the head village virgin, as you like to say, Rocky G, and Mr. Dodgymon. Good morning to you guys as well. Holy shit, man. This is a nice little morning, and very, 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 very busy actually too, which I do suspect that is going to be a big week actually for this market, just because we're going to kind of find out if this $40,000 level is going to be the major area to be aware of, or sorry, the major area to hold or not. If it doesn't, well, we have to talk about the next sort of targets in mind. And realistically, throughout this whole last couple of weeks, it's just been a scalper's game, especially for playing, you know, these very, very nice and generous bounces. Unless if you are holding your shorts all the way from way up, of which I salute you, fucking well done. And I do want to also say, what's up, Mr. Reef Keepers? What's up, Cobus? I see Christina Maria. Space Odyssey has a broccoli. What the fuck? Get that shit out of here, man. That is unnecessary carbs, sir. None of that involved at all, my friend. Sean Waller, what's up, my friend? And I think we got MB says, stop shorting. Yeah, actually, if you do want price action to go up, you actually would want people to short just for what it's worth. People have this weird idea that that shorting available means that the price action go down, and that's bad. Actually, no. It's first off required for efficient markets, and second off, it allows the opportunity for squeezes. In fact, you know this to be true because in assets that you can only trade long, aka just spot buying, well, how do you shake people out of those assets? By doing some really nasty squeezes, and that is why you probably actually do want some shorts. Otherwise, you can just squeeze the shorts and get your nice little upside price action, of which there's gonna be none of that on Bitcoin while Bitcoin is in a major massive downtrend. Nothing's really changed there. I'm gonna finish off this coffee and then we're gonna get into the bulk of this content for today. And there he is, Philson, as well. I knew I missed someone right there. Holy shit, man. I think that we almost got the full mod squad here. Maybe Bear Nutrition is missing, but that's okay. I imagine it's pretty damn early for him. Oh, Saintana, our lovely best bear here. Ding, ding, ding. Sup, Bear Krown? 18,000 gap fill coming. It's been coming for the last 10 months, my friend. I'm still waiting. Still poor as fuck as well. God damn it. Just kidding, man. It's good to see you, brother. What would the cave be without our ever so consistent bear? No matter what. Doesn't matter if Bitcoin's going to 70,000 bucks. I'm fucking bearish. Doesn't matter if Bitcoin's going to 100,000. I'm fucking bearish. Doesn't matter if Bitcoin's even going down. I'm still goddamn bearish. And I'm going to take my last little sippy sip of this, and then we'll get on with it, my friends. Charles Fuck says, it's only meat eaters here. That's exactly right, man. Or at least for myself, man. I pretty much only eat meat and some fruits. And I'm probably going to start a World War III discussion by just saying that, just mentioning that. I just got one more sippy sip here, and then we'll get on with it. Okay, Santa Cup is doing well today, but it's not as good as my Krown Cup, actually. All right, beautiful. Okay, so let's jump into it. My hair is in my way, as usual. And here we go with Bitcoin, of course, starting off the day and looking at the top-end metrics on the Krown Chain application, which I should let you know you can find in the link in the description below. It is 100% free for this next month for all of the premium activities that we are going to be offering up. And the big focus is, once again, on sentiment indicators and, of course, global open interest, of which we still see it coming down. But again, until I really see this come down around 11 to 10 billion-ish at minimum, I'm not really looking for like a major massive low on this price action. That can come about many ways. Obviously, either longs taking their positions off because they're getting a little bit too wrecked, or shorts essentially closing their positions because they're getting too much profits, and fair enough on that. But here's the thing. Anytime that we have seen this get above 13 billion with a B, we have seen it reset down usually to at minimum around 10 to 11 billion. And the lower typically the better. So I'll just quickly run you through this. Of course, we got this iteration over here in March. We have this iteration over here, the 65,000 all-time prior high at in April, of course, before going down to 30,000. Might I add. Of course, the more recent one in September of the past year, before going down about $13,000 in just one day and spending some time down around those $40,000 lows priorly, of course. And then more recently, we did see this this same sort of interpretation at the $69,000 all-time high before getting that massive move down to 40,000. And then between the 46 and $52,000 range, we did see it once again get above 13 billion, yet again with a B, and now coming down. So I would be looking for this to base somewhere around, getting kind of close there, but somewhere around 11 to 10 billion. And I do have my alerts on in the Krown Chain application, which you can actually do for yourself as well. And again, this is all free, and I'm actually not even aware that you can do this on any other platform for free. That is, anyways. Just tooting our own horn, man. We're offering. I do believe that we're offering up the most free stuff across the interwebs, at least for underlying market dynamics. Into the hourly we go. We can see that it's been steadily coming down, pretty much the last few weeks actually. But most importantly, with this is starting to really play into the analysis. So until this starts to base out a little bit lower, I still would say that Bitcoin is in kind of a precarious place, and there is a good chance that we do see a little bit lower before Bitcoin does put in any sort of a major macro base. Now, again, that can come in multiple ways, but ultimately, we do want to see a bit of a reset right there, as as right now we do see, of course, that it is coming down alongside price action, which does imply that the current downtrend is actually weakening. But for right now, it still could come down a little bit more. Now, here's the thing, and I want to add up a little bit of a nuanced interpretation of this. And people have brought up some really good points with this, which I've alluded to in the past, but perhaps I wasn't as forthright with expressing this. But basically, we do expect the base amount of open interest to naturally rise over time as this asset class does mature. Obviously, more people involved is naturally going to represent itself in just more positions, open as far as that goes. But still, some people are kind of arguing that, this would be a good level right here. Perhaps it is, perhaps it isn't, but I would say that this is a little bit too, near the last few areas of which the market cap for this asset has been very, 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 very consistent around that region. So I wouldn't say that, we have anything majorly new going on right there, and I wouldn't expect anything humongously different, to be quite honest with you, until this market cap really grows, another 50 to 100% or so. At that point, yeah, naturally the sort of interpretation of these dynamics will evolve over time. That is to be expected, of course. But right now, we're comparing something we know with just like a month ago. Of course, it's not going to be that different, at least in my opinion. On top of that, if we go over here into the sentiment indicators, I want to once again reference the fear and greed index, and also the leverage ratio, which is still pretty much around all-time highs, but we'll just ignore that for right now. Anyways, in this case right here on the fear and greed index, you can almost see a fractal relationship between the sentiment that we saw over the summer at the $30,000 lows, and of course the lows going on right here, or presumably the lows going on right here as well. And that is actually rather interesting, just because on price action, if we go back onto this pane here, you will notice that there's actually, in some ways, or I wouldn't say in some ways, but you could certainly make a fractal relationship between the price action going on right here in this segment. Let me pull up a fresh chart really quickly. Let me see, is this one fresh? Yeah, this one's fresh enough at least. I'm talking about this price action right here with this first wick down, and then kind of spills back on over, retest that wick right here, and then, well, presumably if this fractal is going to play out, we'd probably bounce from that region, similar to what you see back on over here. And again, you see the exact same thing on or almost the exact same thing on sentiment indicators, which I actually do think holds a lot of weight in this particular instance, as kind of confirming that as a potential idea. Now, please do understand that this is hopium for right now, and even it being hopium would still suggest that Bitcoin's going to spend a long time at minimum at this $40,000 level, maybe like another month or so, if that that relationship is going to hold to fruition. For right now, Bitcoin's just over a month within this sort of similar area that you saw back on over here from the summer. And over the summer, that actually took about almost 3 months to resolve itself. So at minimum, you'd probably be waiting a long time. And there's going to be a lot of traps along the way as well. But basically, I'm talking about this. Obviously, you get your first major wick down right here on this one, and then we'd be kind of operating on this portion of the signature as well. You can see it obviously rejected from the range highs, just like you rejected from the range highs right here. Retesting around that wick lows is kind of the name of the game. But until we actually get a closure below that wick low, like a full-on higher term time frame closure below that wick low, I'd say that it does hold a little weight, to be fair. Here's the thing though, from this point on this major low right here in June, it still took about another full month before you to get your actual bear trap. And in that case, it was very, 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 very swift after that. So please do understand that this is hopium for right now. It's a potential. It is certainly very, 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 very far from being confirmed. And just like a lot of the things that we've been speaking about with regards to hopium for the last month, at the end of the day, until they're actually fully validated, they are just phantoms. They don't exist. They only exist in your mind's eye, which is not good enough. And more importantly, what is the most important thing as far as any sort of major macro direction goes? That is your trend. And the trend is your friend. And the trend is not the fucking friend of Bulaz and hasn't been ever since $63,500. So just kind of simplifying things in that way, can really reduce the anxiety when looking at something like this. But in, kind of rounding out this case right here, I do want to pull up a few other things. So if we are going to look for this to play out, or if this is going to play out, more importantly, we would be expecting a bounce of basically from these levels, probably today, tomorrow, very likely around the time that US markets open later today at 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. What can happen in between there? Well, of course, you can get a few more stabs around your lows, but assuming that we don't close on new lows, then I would be saying Bitcoin's a little bit more likely to bounce from this region than not. Why do I say that? Because we do have many drives of bullish divergence building up from these current lows. I believe that's all the way up to a 12-hour now as well. Let me just double check. No, actually not. Actually, no, there's not. Maybe on CME, will CME be a little bit nicer? Indeed, it will actually, and we actually do have potential regular bullish divergence come off this low as well of the 2 drives variety, but 2 drives variety probably good enough to get you to test short-term, medium-term range highs in this case. What would that exactly be on as far as price action goes? That would be, if I can pull up this chart right here. Okay, let me go to another fresh chart. We need another damn fresh chart, not this area right here, although that was a very, very short-term time frame highs from the weekend. Yes, we already got that. What I'm talking about, however, and the one that actually means something is this level right here at the 43,700-ish region on no less than, you probably get it on an hourly closure, although a 4-hour closure would be a little bit more staunch in this case. Above there, several things do start to happen, and I would be looking for moves back around about $45,500 to $46,000. Why am I essentially saying that? Because that is where the weekly 55 exponential average is coming in right now, pretty much exactly at that region. Actually, pretty much exactly at that region. In fact, 43,750, as you can see right here. And as long as Bitcoin is below that region, it is technically speaking in a precarious place. And well, that is a macro reversal posturing right there, to be fair. So I won't, I won't feed you too much hopium in this case, because at the end of the day, this is in a very, 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 very nasty place potentially if Bitcoin does actually initiate that move. And of course, you do have a bit of a head and shoulders going on right here as far as price action goes. Now, I actually do think that this is a valid head and shoulders, in fact. But how would you confirm this as a head and shoulders? Needs to close below the neckline. In this case, it's the same validation as before. It always comes back to this 4th of December wick low right here, which is about 41,000 and a little bit of change right there, depending upon which exchange that you look at. It could be as low as 41,000 even, or as high as about 41,500 or so. Either which way, that would be the area to kind of validate something like this. And until then, you can actually imply a target based off of the confirmation of that as a formation, which would be pointed all the way down, not necessarily to a St. Anna target right there, but all the way down to low $20,000 territory. Here's the thing though, and what I actually put a little bit more weight on, especially when you're talking about a formation that is completing itself above a long-term major moving average. In this case, it would be the 200, which you actually don't see on this chart because Bybit's a little bit too young for this, too young of a chart, as you can see. But basically, a general way to kind of filter things out is, if you complete a bearish formation above a major moving average, the major long-term moving average. In this case, I like to use the 200s for that, for that purpose. They have a lower degree of hit rate, and of course, vice versa for the other side. So it is relevant to be looking at the potential failure target on this as a continuate, or it's not necessarily a continuation pattern. That would look like something completely different. But my point is that you'd be looking at, hey, where's my damn chart? There's my damn chart. But you could apply that measure move to the top side of the right-hand shoulder if and when Bitcoin does get back above there. And that actually be pointed up towards about $75,000 to $80,000-ish region. That will only be confirmed. Please do understand this. This will be only confirmed, and this is only just the biggest amount of fucking hoping that I could find for today until Bitcoin gets back above $52,000 prior range highs, which Bitcoin has a lot of fucking work to do before then. Again, even for the short-term timeframes, we are still operating well below 43,700. So until that level is taken out, there's really not even any sort of medium or higher term time frame prolonged bounce to be speaking about. But if we go over here into the momentum oscillators, you will very likely notice that several things are kind of aligning with, likely to bounce here more than not. So as always, when it comes to a Monday, I do not trust spot price action indicators as much as I do CME. I've gone through and I've back tested them a million fucking times, and I can assure you that it ain't fucking great results with spot compared to CME. CME definitely takes the cake for that, if you're going to trust them to begin with. But in this case right here, 4-hour stochastic momentum will be remaining to the upside on CME specifically, as long as Bitcoin is closing above $41,000, which, by the way, we're going to get another closure in 44 minutes. So we'll very, very likely, or we will see this on this stream, by the way. And then on top of that, I should denote, however, to add a little bit of a sombering look at the other side, we actually do have a trend line test that's been playing out and guarding against what? No, not right now. Anyways, looking at this right here, I do want to say that, of course, this actually has accurately gotten a lot of our prior highs for the last couple weeks, actually. December 27th right here, more recently on the 31st right here. So that would be this high at about $52,000 range highs from the prior daily range. That would be your highs right here, your highs yet again right here before the ultimate dooms drop. And, well, we're once again going to be testing this region out. To be fair, usually after you test something like this 3 times, you probably are going to break it. And the closer and closer that you kind of wedge into it around the critical zone, it becomes more and more likely to break. So I do think that this one maybe has one more drive at most. But if we do have one more drive at most, that could actually be the next $40,000 break. So please do be aware of that. Please do be aware of the validation conditions. But until then, I do think that Bitcoin's shown a few more indications that it's a little bit more likely to bounce here than not, just as we were saying over the weekend. And we said that this was kind of a setup for the early week to come. Well, we're at the early week to come. So if you are going to be looking for that, it is now relevant to be looking for. If we go over here to the hourly, I should be looking at this, and we do see that, yes, it does remain with upside posture as long as above 41,800. Keep in mind, Bitcoin is just trading about $25 above there right now, so not great. And we also do have backwardation on futures versus spot, by the way. Buy hourly is showing 41,431, so that is good, building upon those lower numbers. 3 hours going to be showing 41,600 and already breaking what would have been that same sort of trend line right here, I'm going to guess. Actually, no, it is not doing that just yet. And then I think the 6 hour was also starting to turn. Yes, indeed it is. 41,250, the magical number. 12 hour is also just freshly turning. However, it is not in the most strong place. And this one's showing 41,160. So as long as Bitcoin can essentially remain above about 41,500, I would look for this one to bounce early into this week. Bounce targets are probably going to be the medium-term time frame range highs, which is be about 43,700. Above 43,700, maybe even on an hourly closure, I would personally use a 4 hour for myself. I would be looking for that next move up about $2,000 to $45,500 to $46,000. That's the big one for the very long term, because that is your weekly major area. Bitcoin back above there. This starts to look a little bit more like, we are going to see some bottoming action in the low 40s. However, I would still suggest that it is not quite there just yet. But even on the daily, now that I look at it, Bitcoin will be remaining with upside posturing on daily stochastic momentum with any sort of a closure above 41,220 at the end of the day today in 15 hours, 41 minutes, and 57 seconds. So it's a long day left to go, obviously. But again, kind of constructing the cases, I do think that Bitcoin is more likely to bounce here than not. And again, just, be aware of the differentials in targets. If we go over here to the 5-day, you also notice that Bitcoin is kind of bouncing off the bottom side of the, of the Trollinger Bands right there. And then weekly, kind of same thing as well. And typically speaking, you're going to see a bounce within that region. So kind of constructing the cases, that's what I'm looking for right now. Maybe one more quick swipe of the lows here on the short-term timeframes, definitely possible. Just one little last fuck you to the over-leveraged late longers, or early longers, I should say, and then very likely another try to the upside. And then, you know, of course, order of operations. But please do understand, all higher-term timeframes are in a downtrend, and you know, talking about any sort of prolonged upside price action alongside that, and also alongside, of course, our open interest reads over here has not been a winning decision for a very long time. In fact, barely it ever is. Oh, I should also mention that the Jewel Light, we had to repost that because it got taken down because the TradingView Nazi moderators don't like it if you don't have like a perfect description, which, you know, fair enough. That is their rules. But you can find the new one in the link description below of this video, of course. And also, I needed to do another announcement on this because I'm getting so many messages about this. It's actually insane. Instagram, I only have one Instagram account for my personal self. It's in the link in the description below if you happen to give a fuck about my super boring life. It's kind of fun sometimes. But if you're getting messaged by anyone else that has a similar name to myself, it's not me. I'm not interested in trading anyone else's account other than my own. I don't have like a secret fund where I take in investors' money, and I certainly don't want you to download some sort of bullshit malware, most likely. So please be careful with that. I mean, shit, man, I got an email from myself today. I got an email from myself asking to like promote shitcoin projects. So there's someone who's actually pretending to be me on email. He's actually got a very confusing email as well. It says Eric Krown official, I think, at Gmail, and he's going around and trying to get shitcoins to basically pay him to market for them. And it's not me, but man, I imagine there's gonna be a lot of mad people soon enough. So please be careful with that. And there you go. That is it for that. Nice. Sweet. Okay, so I think we got through all of that. Let me just double check that we're going good over here. I think we are. I think I can turn on the alerts as well. I'm going to turn the volume down for that. Yeah, man, it's pretty fucking crazy. The scammers are now scamming the other scammers. I mean, and I already got a message about this not so long ago by like a total fucking scam project. I mean, Jesus Christ, man. This one was really egregious in my opinion, just because it was making like these insane promises, man, that it was going to become like the world currency. And apparently my sort of impersonator had already gone over to this shitcoin project and asked them to pay him for some Twitter promotion or something. They actually went through and did it, and then they came back and started emailing the real me, and they're like, hey man, you're a scammer. I'm like, what the fuck? There's it's like a fucking scam ring, man. Just terrible. Just fucking terrible. So that's cryptocurrency in a nutshell. As always, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Please be careful in cryptocurrency land. And well, there you go, man. There's your warning for today. And I think we can get onto the comments right now. I'm going to turn on the alerts right there. I'm going to take another sippy sip of this water and make sure that my throat stays nice and well coated. And let's see what else has got ready for me over here. Just tell me everything is going up for forever, says Mike. That's right, man. If you're looking at a long enough time horizon, if you're on a monthly over here, you might even be right. But man, that doesn't mean you can't eat up some pretty nasty downside moves, of course. All right, sweet. I think Elsa actually... Oh my god, you already color coordinated this for me. Thank you very much. Stefan Milcevic is first, says, hello, Krown. What's up, man? Can you do ILV 4-hour daily and if applicable, weekly? Let's see. ILV, I'm not familiar with this one. Okay, well, we'll just pull it up right here. Doesn't look good on a monthly, I'll put it that way, man. Looks pretty fucking awful on a weekly as well, man. And daily, are we in a bouncy area or not is the real question, is what I'm guessing you're probably asking. Well, yes, but again, do not confuse bounce with a bottom. This is fucking garbage as far as the chart goes. But I'm guessing we do have many drives of bullish divergence building off the bottom right there. We do. How high of a time frame does this go up to? I think a 12-hour in this case. So I do think, you know, maybe a short-term move back up to about 850 or so is fair game. But ultimately, this thing is heavily bearish, especially as long as you're below about $1,000. Even in fact, just this area right here. No weekly analysis for me on this one. And if we go over here to a daily, same thing basically as well. This one is likely getting ready for a bit of a short-term bounce, but again, do not confuse short-term bounce with with reversal here. And especially as long as Bitcoin is kind of under pressure, I wouldn't expect anything like this to be doing all that well, to be quite honest with you. For what it's worth right now, this looks to me like it's probably going to pop up here and then put in another lower high, maybe somewhere around probably somewhere around 850 to 950 or so. And I am heavily bearish on an asset that looks like this, especially as long as you're below about $1,000 on a daily closing basis. Until then, all bounces are lower highs, and all bounces are likely to lead towards long-term continuations for shitcoins of the day. No, again, not talking shit about you as a person, man, but talking shit about this as a chart. Just fucking god-awful chart, man. I wouldn't say it's that god-awful, but let's put it on a linear scale. Pretty damn bad. Pretty damn bad. It's certainly the worst chart of the day, but you don't have too much competition just yet. So let's move on to the next one and see what Sapien Mule says. He says, bonjour, sir. Bonjour, mon ami. I can also speak French as well, or a little bit, I think. Could you please give us an update on Dusk 4 Hour Daily, please? How do you feel about the descending channel? Let's see. Well, if it's a true descending channel, typically speaking, those have a higher probability to break out to the upside than the downside. Problem is, you can be walked down amongst those for forever. And this is not a descending channel. This is a downtrend, and this is a shitcoin of a chart, actually. Well, is it a shitcoin of a chart? Well, at least it's kind of gone up. Generally, yeah, it's actually generally gone up and to the right over the long period of time, so maybe not that big of a shitcoin. Is it more ready for a bounce here than not? Very likely, yes. Let's go down to a 4 hour right here. I'm guessing this is the descending channel that you're talking about. This is actually, if you want to be super specific with it, it's technically called a descending broadening wedge, something like this, and you can know that because the bottom side supported, or actually no, it is more of a channel, to be fair. Anyways, the problem with these sort of formations is that you can be infinitely walked down these. So while they do have a higher probability to break out to the upside than the downside, you ain't fucking there just yet. And the only way to kind of confirm these or play these, at least in my experience with it, which they actually are okay. One of the few patterns that I will put a little bit of weight on is you need to see a closure above your last rejective high, and in this case your last rejective high is about 77.77 in this case. So am I looking at this as a low right here? I mean, you're right on the 200 simple, but that does not look like strong price action. That does not look good, dare I say. But ultimately, the way to play it is the same in this case. Wouldn't mind another move down to about 58 cents. I would still be looking for a bounce around there. And by the same token, I would not be calling any sort of even medium-term reversals as long as you're below about, let's just call it 77 cents in this case. Above there, I do look for this one to actually pop back up around about 90 cents to $1 or so, and then come back to it after that. Until then, not the most interesting chart right here. And unlikely to move on its own. I would certainly not say that it's one of the more strong charts either. Kind of just par for the course. I'm actually curious to see how much it went down from its highs here, about 60%. You can always go down another 60% as well. Jack Aspen says, good morning, Krown. What's up, man? Link BTC 4 hour daily. Yeah, I imagine a lot of people are going to be asking about Link again, because Link has just been showing some relative strength coming off of its lows. And what do you know? The Bitcoin parent right here looking pretty darn good, actually. Now, here's the thing. I do think that you're right at your prior range highs in this case. You're going to have a chance to actually take them out. Let me just make sure that I actually got this properly here. Let me just pull back on over here. Very, very close if you are. I'm going to go with this one, be a little more conservative in this case. Well, I'll do this one first, and then we'll go to the next one. Thank you. Anyways, I do see, hold on. No, that is not correct either. I'll be using this area right here. I would actually be looking for a little bit of a pullback from this 7,000 region, as you can see, but I wouldn't actually be looking for this one to set up a higher low and very likely trudge on through within the next coming weeks here. This is looking like a major reversal to me. This is a major reversal, actually, now that we go over here to the weekly. So again, you're testing your range highs on the weekly, very likely to pull back from that region. That's okay. But I'm just looking for higher lows. Anywhere around just below 6,000 Satoshis is fair game. Anything above about what is this right here? About 5,600. I am actually looking at this as probably a reversal. We do see, or do we see? We actually don't see any bullish divergence, but I do see weekly Jewel is once again giving some upside posturing. And we do see that this is coming off of a very, very low volatility read. And a lot of the time you will see sort of major reversals kind of present this sort of price action right here. So I'd actually be looking for this one to very likely bust on through after a short-term pullback. And again, where am I looking at on higher lows? Maybe down to like 5,600 Satoshis. Let me actually see. Where are we right here? We got a 382 right around 5,700. We got a 0.5 at 5,400. Anywhere around those two levels is completely fine. Long term though, I'm actually looking for this one to bust on through, man. This is pretty damn good. I do think that Link is finally ready, actually. Short term time frame starting to build up some bearish divergence. So maybe one more strike of the highs, of the top side of the range, and then I'd be looking for that higher low somewhere around low 6,000 to upper 5,000, let's call it, and then come back to it after that. But I imagine that the Link US dollar chart is probably doing pretty damn well as well. All right, I think we got the Yole Bear next, and then we have Christina Maria, and she says, hey man, appreciate that, but this is fire, signing up for the app. Yeah man, in fact, the app, while we do of course appreciate people signing up, you can even use it without an account as well. And yeah, man, I'm really, really glad that you are finding some value in it, because we put, or not me, but our developers have put a shit ton of sweat, blood, and tears into that. And it's really, really cool to see the community actually appreciate it, and for the app to actually grow itself as well. And yeah, man, massively appreciate that feedback. Thank you. 69 as well. Beautiful. Christina Maria says, hope you and Elsa are both well. I think we're doing all right. I think we're doing okay. And thank you. Really enjoying the TA program. Fucking nice. I'm glad to glad to hear that, as always. Could you please do ARUSD? Okay. This is Arweave. I remember this one because we've looked at it maybe like a couple months ago. Here, see where this one is now. You're looking at a daily and weekly, so more long-term, looking for long-term entry. If it doesn't hold a range, would a BART with a downside target of 1970 thoughts? Okay, so let me actually go to the timeframes that you're looking for. I guess you're probably playing, whoa, 1970. That would be, okay. I mean, if it comes down there, yeah, I do think it's going to bounce quite heftily. But man, Christina, I mean, that's like, that's more than a 50% dump bola from where you're at right now. I think that there's maybe some more pertinent price action between there. Maybe I'm on the wrong chart. Okay, you're looking at ARUSDT. Let me just see. Maybe there's something a little bit more pertinent over here. I guess I'll try this one. Yeah, it's going to be the same chart. All right, fair enough. Anyways, let me go to the weekly as well. Okay, I do see what you're talking about. I mean, this is pretty weak price action right here. No doubt about that. I'm either bullish above your last rejective high on the weekly, which is about $61. If that does fail, and you will know failure with any sort of a weekly closure on new lows below about $42 or so, you actually would be looking at this as very likely a head and shoulders, and you do see many drives of bearish evidence come off the highs as well on a weekly. I'm going to guess that's probably where you're getting your $19 target from. Let's just see. I'm just curious to see. Actually, it'd be even lower than that, to be fair. That would be quite the fucking move to be happening, but this is one of the ones where I'd actually be a little more compelled to go to a short-term time frame first. So you're looking for a long-term entry. I mean, I'd be looking for a base at about 42 and a quarter or so. Any lower than that, I do think that this one does come into some major problems, and you probably are going to start to see a long-term move, over months with bounces along the way, namely at 34 and a half, and then probably again at about 25 and a half before you do actually reach your $19 target. But until then, actually give this one a chance to put in a bit of a higher low right here, and that higher low would be in comparison to your $38 low right here, and that does imply that your 200 simple is actually coming in right around about $42.50 to about $43. So I'd actually give it a chance right here. I'm bullish above your last lower high at 65 and a half, and I'd actually be looking for potentially an opportunity right here, not because it's guaranteed to work out as you always know, Christina, but because risk management in comparison to that operating as a major low would be relatively low if you are on the higher term timeframes with an obvious kind of risk management right around about $36.50. Until then, I'd actually give it a bit of a chance right here. This one's not necessarily strong on its own, so I would be going more with market analysis rather than individualistic analysis, but I'd give it a chance right here, to be quite honest with you. I would not take trades within this range to be quite fair. I'd only take trades above here or trades down here. Those are the ones that actually offer up an edge and make a little more sense to me. And then obviously below about $42, big problems, big red dildos after that. Until then, I mean, $20 is a hell of a move right there. Like I said, there's going to be bounce along the ways if it does fail. 36 or what was it, like 36 and a half? Yeah. And then about 25 and a half is kind of where we'd be looking for. And then perhaps $20. But until then, it's probably easy to watch Bitcoin in this case. If Bitcoin starts to reverse here, you're going to see this thing very likely reverse as well, but not enough history to really give it like too much, to be fair. Hopefully that was helpful, however. And Jack Hessman is next, says, no, we just did that one. So all good right there. Jack Jansen is next, says, Happy New Week. Hey, what's up, man? Happy New Week to you as well. Yeah, near USD on the 4 hour, and a look over the weekly close, if that's okay. I mean, we can do it. I just forget if this one actually has the history for that. Let's see. Does this one have the history for that? Still kind of rejecting that region, to be fair. I mean, that is not great. Anyways, go over here to a daily. This one's starting to lose its structure. It is actually starting to lose its more short-term structure, and I probably do look for it to come down somewhere around just above $12 or so. I'm actually not, I do need to be careful with the way that I kind of talk about this one, however, because I'm still not necessarily bearish on it. I'm just looking for this one to come a little bit lower and very likely bounce, maybe around low $12. I mean, you've already got down to $13, so that's fair game. I only really look at this one as a failure below about $12 on a daily closure. At that point, I do look for this one to retrace the majority of its recent rally down to about 9 to 9.25 or so. Until then, actually give it a chance to kind of bottom around this region. Let me just see where momentum oscillators are as well, because I do see that daily is going to have potential to have hidden bullish divergence. If it can just actually flip around right here, let's see what daily stochastic momentum is looking like. Hard down below 16.25. That is not great. 12-hour is going to be turning up above 14.5, which it is kind of within the striking distance of. Full hour is also turning up above 13.36, so it would be up right now. That is good. And hourly also up at 13.30. So I'd actually give this one a chance for right here. Here's the thing on the daily. Here's your last low, and this is obviously a little bit of an ever so slightly higher low, so that does imply that with lower lows on RSI, we would have potentially hidden bullish divergence. However, that will not be confirmed until you do pop back above. I'm going to go with a medium-term time frame range here. Yeah, I'd say that would be fully confirmed back above this region on the daily. Until then, short-term time frames like a 4 hour, I mean, they're just popping right into my zone, actually, that I put on from, I think, this weekend's video, actually. And, more likely to bounce here again, man. You know, I'd actually be saying, I think earlier I said that I'd be looking for it to pop down first to about $12 and then try for a bounce. I'd actually give it a chance to bounce right here. In fact, you are seeing an ever so slight drive of bullish divergence come off the low. I'd really only be looking for the next move down to about, I think it was $12 even. Let me just double check. Somewhere around about $12 even. If you do close below your current low structure, which is about 13.30 in this case. Until then, I actually do see a few things that are suggesting that this one does try for a bounce here. And then if that bounce brings you above that critical level on the medium-term timeframes, I'd look for that to play into the daily. And if daily does start to confirm hidden bullish divergence, which again will be had, but with the confirmation above that region, I would be looking for this one to actually pop back up and continue on with the general rally with the same targets in mind. Being a measure move off of this as an ascending triangle, which actually did kind of lose its curvature there, so maybe that's not relevant anymore. In any case, I'd still be looking for a move somewhere around about low $20 region, to be fair. So do be aware of that. If you do fail, I'm looking for down around about $12, very likely a bounce there, but I would not immediately just say that bounce is blindly going to be like the next major low. I'd want to see it after that. I'd just be looking for a bounce in that case. So hopefully that was helpful. And there you go for that, sir. We have who is Thomas. What's up, man? Good day, sir. Flux USD, KuCoin, 1 hour, 4 hour. Any thoughts, targets? I don't know what you're talking about on targets, man. That sounds like financial advice, and this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, and that's fucking illegal, man. Have some, be smart, sir. Be fucking smart. Anyways, 1 hour and 4 hour. Very new chart over here. For the history that we do have, it's okay. Short term, it does look like it's ready to have a little bit of a short term downside move. On the 4 hour, hourly is not really giving me too much. Do we see anything that's obvious right here? Many drives of bearish divergence come off the highs of that last little rally attempt, but I don't think that this is a death sentence. I just think that it very likely pulls back, maybe down around about 267, 265, read and tries for another low right there. But short term, yeah, I do think that this one pulls back a little bit further. If maybe we could try like a 12 hour just to see. I mean, it's not bad long term, to be fair. I mean, as long as it's riding the higher lows, I'm not going to be, full on bearish on it. But again, a little bit too new to really give like a full, full analysis on. I generally think it's probably going to come down just a little bit more, somewhere around about 260 and try for a low there, somewhere between about 260 to 267 or something like that. And that'd just be another higher low. And but you'd be generally okay. I suspect that you probably also got something like this going on as well. Holy shit, I have a full on chart for this one. Yeah, I guess I'd be kind of coming in around that region, or apparently I've charted this one before. I don't recognize it. Oh, no, I do recognize it's flux. Anyways, yeah, anywhere around here at the 1 spot 272 and the 1 spot 414 extension from your prior base. Probably looking at that one as potential low bottoming area. But again, very, 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 very new chart here. So it's, as always, very dangerous to be doing more long-term analysis on this or making any sort of long-term interpretations. Look, here's the crux of the, of any analysis for a chart that looks like this today. If Bitcoin go down, this one's going to go down too, and probably lower than what I'm postulating right there, maybe a little below to like 260 or so. If Bitcoin go up, this one very likely puts in a bottom, the next sort of short-term low somewhere around that, just over 260, just under 270-ish region, and then tries some upside from there. Anyways, let me scroll on down here, and I think we have Mayor M. What's up, man? Hey, Special K, what's up, brother? Good morning, Vet USD, please, daily, weekly. Yeah, no one asked about Vet no more as well. This one kind of has like its own cult following, don't they? Let's see where this one's at. And you're looking at higher term timeframes on this one. Yeah, very unimpressive chart here. To be quite honest with you, when a lot of things were kind of putting in some rallies last week, this thing didn't even try, it looks like. But here's the thing, and you do have a little bit of hopium on this one. I do suspect. I mean, you will have naturally hidden bullish divergence between this low right here and this potential low right here. But man, this one has a lot of work to do. What would actually confirm this as a low and a major low at that, with big targets back up into the mid-teens or mid to low teens, let's say, would be any sort of a weekly closure back up about 9.5 cents in this case. Could a daily do it as well? A daily could do it actually, and I'd be using a slightly higher level at about just let's say 10 cents in this case. Above there on a daily closure, I would be looking for this one to have a nice rally back up towards 13 cents, 14 cents region. Until then, it's a downtrend and it's fucking ugly. It's not great, and it's showing relative weakness compared to most other things. I would say also that you do have potentially regular bullish divergence going on the daily as well, but again, that is nowhere near being confirmed. In order to confirm that, you need to confirm this as a local low, and in order to confirm this as a local low, you need to at minimum close a daily dildo back above about 8.5 cents. So this one has a lot of work to do, and it's probably not going to be the strongest one to the upside if Bitcoin does put in a rally, and it's probably going to overperform to the downside. So let's talk about downside targets if this one does fail. I think the obvious one is going to be back down around your summer lows actually, which is about 6.5 to 6.7 cents or so. And again, you'd probably be looking at that if Bitcoin does fail. Until then, to give it a chance here, obviously, I do think Bitcoin's more likely to bounce from this region than not, but just be aware of where those major levels are, because for right now, this one is, this one is trending and probably not in the favor that I'm gonna guess that you want. So hopefully that was helpful. And there you go for vets, or I think that was only high term time frames as well. So we are good there. Karim says, "Hey Krown, what's up, man? Appreciate it's all good, man. It's all good. Can we please get a bear market soon so we can get some buzzer noises and Lexington Steel sound bites?" Well, I mean, there's been plenty of that for like the last couple of months here. But when like a real nasty downside moves happens, oh man, you can only imagine that is what this channel was made for, man. This channel was made in the heat of one of them of like an actual bear market going back to 2018 in March, I believe it was, which by the way, we almost have the 4 or 5 year anniversary. I think it's a 4-year anniversary coming up in just a couple months now. That is insane, man. Holy shit. That's fucking wild. Can't believe it's been this long, but man, I guess time just flies with this. Anyways, yeah, man. Personally speaking, as a trader, I do like bear markets more than upside markets. Just more for me to do as a trader. In general, upside markets, I'm mostly just kind of hodling and playing some trend strategies, which is, in my opinion, a little bit more boring. But hey, fair enough. To each their own, right? I'll take another sip of this water and then get back on with it. Next is pedophile. Pedophile. Oh, pedophile. I see. Thoughts on HTR, please, sir? 4 on daily. Yeah. HTR. This is Hathor. You need to hear Elsa say Hathor. She loves to say Hathor. Could you? She won't, man. She's a little bit too shy. Okay, so this one's actually rather interesting right here. So it was actually one of the better charts coming into like a couple weeks ago, right? Actually even made some new highs over here, obviously, and then rejected from your top end prior all-time highs, which is to be expected. Now I wouldn't have expected a pullback this low, however, but with it coming this low, I'm actually looking for this area to bounce right here and very likely try for another major low. Prefer maybe even on a weekly as well. Let me just double check. Let me just get this one right here. At least I'm looking for a bounce here, and probably a bounce back up to about $1.50 or so. Other than that, the daily does still look like you could put in a major low right here, but the easiest way to be kind of judging this one, if it's going to be bullish or bear. Okay, we really only need a couple areas, although this chart is still working phenomenally well, but I'm just going to get rid of this for right now. The area to get bearish on this one, and like phenomenally bearish on it for it to unravel pretty much its whole run from, I'm gonna guess, 2021, would be on a daily closure below yesterday's wick low. Until then, I'm actually looking at this as very likely a bounce area. I'm gonna imagine that we probably have potentially hidden bullish divergence in play. No, we do not, so that's not great. What about a weekly? Also, well, do we? Yeah, we will actually this week, assuming that it just doesn't close lower than that same level. Until then, Until then, I'm probably looking for a bounce right here. What would start to confirm this as your next major low? Daily closures back up about 155, 156 with targets back up to the top side of your range. Again, this would just be one massive, albeit sloppy consolidation, but I would be looking at this still as like generally good for the long term, which it sounds like you're maybe more interested in. Or no, you're saying 4 hour daily. Let's go to a 4 hour right here. 4 hours going to be plotting in some regular bullish divergence come off the low. If it does close here or higher within the next hour and 7 minutes and 27 seconds, if it can do that, I'd be looking for another test somewhere around the top side of your range. That's the major area for the daily closure. Above there, I start to look at this one as your next major low actually, and probably does work its way back up somewhere around the top side of this structure over a longer period of time. But for right now, be aware that any sort of a closure below yesterday's wick low, again, that is going to be where exactly 122. I would be looking for this one to fall back down towards your, sorry, not your summer lows, but your December lows in this case, at minimum, which is just around $1 even. I would be looking for another bounce there, but at that point, the bounce is just more likely to lead towards your next lower high, and this one very likely does end up being long-term bearish after that. Until then, I'd give it a chance short term. I mean, this is more of a bouncy area than not, to be fair. Just kind of like Bitcoin as well. That's kind of where I'd put the probabilities on for today and tomorrow specifically. Dude Daddy says, hey, Krown, hope all is well. Can I check out, or can I check out? Yeah, Hero. Okay, so this is Meta Hero. Okay, Meta Hero. 4 hour Gate.io. That's Gate.io or Coin. I don't think that is actually hosted there. Yeah, it's actually not hosted there. So we'll just be looking at this one. Hopefully that is good enough. Anyways, 4 hour. Not fucking good, man. Not fucking good right here. But here's the thing. Again, if Bitcoin does continue with its bounce, this one very likely does as well. And you probably see this thing back around about 13 to 13.5 cents or so. Until then, this is technically a trend play to the downside on a continuation. We do have potentially hidden bearish divergence populated right here with higher highs on RSI correlated with lower highs on price action. And we do see that, well, you're right at the 55 as well, which is where you do look for your lower highs in this particular case. So what I would say on this one is that again, it's just going to be easier to watch Bitcoin in this case. Sir, are you okay over there? Elsa's having a day. Anyways, I'm curious, is there any obvious signals on maybe like a medium-term time frame, like a 12-hour in this case? Yeah, you do have many drives of bullish divergence, but again, you're already creating higher highs on your 12-hour RSI above your last rejective highs within the context of this downtrend, which was back here on the 2nd of January. So I'm not a humongous fan of this one right here, but again, Bitcoin continues on its bounce. You probably find this one at about 13 and a quarter to 1340-ish region. And I mean, look, you did come all the way back. Okay, now that I see the daily, you did come all the way back down to pretty much your all-time lows. You're more likely to bounce here than not. But man, this one does not kind of scream strength to myself. Where would I call this one a failure and very likely to not just retest current lows, but maybe even make new lows? That would be with a 4-hour closure below 10.4 cent in this case. If you do see that, I'm looking at this as your next continuation move with that minimum retesting your current lows in the, I guess, low 9 cent region, probably another bounce there, and then, well, continue. I mean, that is kind of a continuation setup. So it's, yeah, I don't feel like I'm being too helpful on a chart like this, but if I look at an hourly, do we see anything obvious right here? Still no, although it does suggest a little bit of short-term downside to 10.7 cent, but that's not a death sense or anything like that. I'd just be going off of ranges and probably keep my eye on Bitcoin, man. If Bitcoin continues, you're very likely to find this thing somewhere around like low 13 cent region. It's kind of what is kind of the crux of my message right there. So hopefully that was helpful. And there you go for that, sir. Just make sure that everything is good to go over here. Why is my damn chats not working? Okay, there we go. Now they're working again. Okay, beautiful. All right, who is next? I think we have Mr. Tashi. I think it's Tashi. Yeah. Hey, Krown, since the leverage just keeps going up, could well, the leverage is actually not going up. No, global open interest is actually coming down here. So that is, I would disagree with the statement outright. Could it be because of shorts and not longs? I mean, it could be it could be a lot of different things, man. So it could be shorts being added, could be longs being added. I'm going to guess though, if, in the current context of this trend, well, first off, hold on. We're not seeing it go up. That's the problem. Hold on. We have the wrong interpretation of this. This is not that's not what's happening right here. So first off, the leverage is not going up. It's actually going down, and it has been going down steadily since the 27th of December. So almost 2 full weeks now, or I think maybe that is about 2 weeks, in fact. So no, to me, what this looks like is it looks like shorts are starting to take profit. We saw open interest go up here, so it's probably a bunch of shorts and longs being added around the prior $52,000 range highs. Now you're seeing, first longs capitulate on that first move down. Now you're probably seeing shorts take profit at your prior weekly lows, which is kind of a natural thing to be doing. You do expect something like that. Anyways, you go on to say that meaning a pump because of short squeeze. You can't fucking squeeze shorts in a downtrend, man. It's the same. You can't squeeze shorts in a downtrend. Let the trend be your friend. It's like traps, right? What's the old saying, or how does the old saying go? You can't trap a bull in a bull market, right? You can't trap a bear in a bear market. Yeah, on shorter term time frames, you can kind of come up with little traps, but technically speaking, if you're going by these standard definitions, that's not true. So if you're if I feel like what the crux of your message is, you want me to give you an idea that we're gonna see a short squeeze. There's no short squeeze to have here at all whatsoever. You can't squeeze shorts unless if they're like massively over leveraged, which if they are massively over leveraged, they're probably not professional traders, meaning that they probably do not have much equity, which means that it's probably not going to be much to begin with. What you want to see here is you want to see shorts closing, which we actually do see shorts closing, and then if Bitcoin does reverse above some of the more pertinent areas, reversing the trend, at that point you can get a bit of a trap behavior. But until then, no. And I really disagree with a lot of the hopium going around. You can't you just can't fucking squeeze shorts in an area like this for like any reasonable short who's like an actual professional trader with a shit ton of money. For very over leveraged traders, yeah, I mean a fucking 2% move will wipe out someone who's massively over leveraged, right? But that's not who moves the market. The people who move the market are humongous hedge funds and big money managers and people with billions at this point. So that's just, in my opinion, not relevant. I keep on seeing that around it. So I know that you're not the only person thinking that, but it is, it just seems to be like one of those things. It sounds good. It sounds like high consciousness, but I just completely disagree with the with kind of the outset of it, to be honest with you. Anyways, Lucid Lorax says, greeting again from the exact same latitude as Helsinki over in Anchorage. Oh my God, the only place that's maybe colder than here. Tesla daily weekly. Yeah, man, let's look at some real stocks. How about that? TSLA on NAS. And this is the first one, Lucid Lorax, sir. Anyways, you're looking at a daily and a weekly. Okay, I do. Whoa, Jesus Christ, man, that is a fucking slam down right there. Okay, so I forget. We looked at this one not long. Okay, whatever chart I did on this one, which I believe we did it maybe last week, is still the same chart here. Would I be looking for this one to continue a little bit lower or bounce right here? That's the real question. Let's see, what about a weekly? Your range lows, obviously on the week, they're going to be about 940 or so. And did we close below the last gap right there? Yes, we did. But here's the thing, you're kind of on another level for a bit of a bouncy bounce in the short term. So I do think that this one will open up the week a bit on a bounce. Bounces can come back up anywhere to about 1100 or so, but assuming that bounces fail to get back above and close above on a higher term time frame above about 1100, I would be inevitably looking for this one to come down and fulfill your bottom side range lows, which by the way, you do have a nice gapola right here at about 940 to 950 or so. So I would also reframe from getting like super bearish on this one long term still, as long as you're above, especially the 900 base. But coming back down there does seem like it's a little bit rather likely to happen within these next couple of weeks here. Still, however, long term, this is a general uptrend. This looks to me like one massive consolidation range. So we see weekly volatility start to curtail throughout this whole consolidation. So I do think that's going to take some time, similar to what you saw back on over here. You saw this consolidation have to come off extremes for basically since January 2021 until October. I mean, that's a 10-month long consolidation. Now, admittedly, this one over here is not as aggressive, so we would not expect it to take as long, but you're probably going to be doing something at best like this for a while, where you come back down, do a little bit of that, and then maybe around Q2 of 2022, you see another try towards 1200. But for right now, short-term bouncy coming off that region, but ultimately, I do think that this one reaches a little bit lower. I would only get full-on bearish on this one below your last weekly low, which is in the low 900s on a closing basis. Until then, it's a major consolidation, very, very short-term, very likely opens up on a bounce. However, over the next couple of weeks, I would be looking for it to come down and fulfill that gap test, which is also around the weekly 21 as well, in your mid 900s, let's say. So hopefully that was helpful. And there you go for Tesla, sir. I think, yeah. Who? Luke Crow. Sir, Cardano, 12-hour. I mean, if they're the same color, we can just go by the colors. It's really not that much different. Anyways, Cardano 12-hour and daily. Let's see where this one's at. Or maybe I go to the one that I actually have a chart for. Maybe that would be a good idea. Otherwise, what's the fucking point, huh? It is this one. Well, fair enough. I'm not even too impressed with the chart. God damn it, drawing damn lines again. Apologies on that. Let's do a fresh chart for the timeframes that you are asking for. You're looking at a 12-hour and a daily. Okay, I'm on a weekly, so maybe not that one. This one very similar to VET, actually, in the sense that, you know, it's operating relatively weak here. I'm going to imagine that you probably do have potential regular bullish evidence building up on a daily. You do. You see actually 1, 2, 3 drives of higher lows here on daily RSI, correlated with lower lows on price action. So it is a potential, but just like VET, you can't confirm a local low here, you haven't confirmed a local low here until you've at minimum closed a daily dildo back above about 131. Could I use a 4-hour in this case? Actually, yes. Yes. In fact, I might even move that down to like 130 even. Either which way, you know, it's still a little bit further away from actually happening. If that does get confirmed, I would be looking for a retest at minimum somewhere around about $1.45 to $1.50ish. About $1.45 to $1.50ish region, and then come back to it after that. 5-day is not great, nor is the weekly, nor is the monthly. But again, you're more in a bouncy area here than not, to be fair. And this one's pretty much had no reprieve for about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months. I mean, bounces have basically been banned on higher term time frames. It's all just been continuation here. Lower term time frames like a 4-hour. I mean, just plotted another drive of hidden bearish divergence right there. I wouldn't trust that one too much, to be fair. 12-hour. Should have some regular bullish evidence building right here. It does. In fact, it goes all the way back on over here too. So that I'm probably looking for this one to bounce. Again, same thing as Bitcoin. The real question is, does the bounce bring you back above about low 130s? If it does on a higher term time frame closure, I'd actually extend this run quite a fair bit. And your next major area obviously is going to be about 158, 160-ish region prior swing high. And above there, you can start to talk about like a more prolonged reversal with targets back up. I'm going to guess into the low $2 region, maybe even more like 2.25 over time. But for right now, you know, it's operating relatively weak. It closed pretty much on the lows, didn't necessarily break the lows just yet. But how would I judge that this one is more likely to continue further south first before a bounce? Well, any sort of a closure below your current 4th of December lows, which is basically 113, would do it for me. Until then, it's similar to most other things in this market. I'm generally thinking bounce first. The question is, does that bounce bring you back above a critical area or not? If it fails to, then more of the same, I guess, and probably looking at targets down towards like 80 to 90 cents. Until then, I do generally think the market is more likely to bounce off this region than not, especially, you know, considering sentiment indicators and considering, you know, Bitcoin's setup going on right now. There's just a lot more things pointed towards that rather than a continuation first, if that's going to happen at all. See that we already got 900 likes on this video, which is amazing. Thank you for that. A major appreciation for that, I should say. Let me just plot back in over here, and I think we have Mr. Julio. What's up, Julio? I think it would be really cool if you did a stream in a full business suit one time, maybe when Link breaks $100. Also, with that, can we see Link macro? I'd actually like to put up Link over here. Where is my link? This one's been a lot more interesting to watch in the last few weeks, especially. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about right here. And by the way, we did confirm, or no, we already confirmed the hidden bullish evidence. So we have just about hit the target of that, the $29 target, or did we already hit it? Yeah, we did hit it. Hey, not bad. There we go. Here we have Chainlink, symbol LINK versus the dollar. I'd like to do a general overview on this one because it's been one of the more interesting charts, especially in the last 2 to 3 weeks here, kind of playing off the lows, confirming weekly hidden bullish divergence, and also working its way up towards our $30 targets from last week. So with that said, do we look for continuation from here? Actually, in my opinion, yes. In my opinion, yes. I do see that there's a lot of very interesting things going on right here. Where's your next daily level? To be fair, next daily level and probably an implied pullback somewhere just below $31. Please do understand that pullback from that region, I'm just looking for a higher low after that. Higher low presumably could come anywhere around, let's just see, anywhere between about 25 to 26 and a quarter. It would be fair game, and I'm generally going to be long-term bullish on this one with the assumption that this is actually set in a macro base right here, as long as you're below, or sorry, not below, but as long as you're above 23.5 on a daily closing basis. Until then, you actually have a Krown cross example about to happen right here. Now, here's the thing. I do not look at that one as playable. What I want to see is I want to see something like this, where at first it pops up, kind of plays out that move, contracts back, sets in a higher low somewhere around these two levels right here. That would be the major area to be aware of, at least in my opinion, and very likely does set up for a move somewhere around your $33.50 region. Long term, I would call this a macro accumulation confirmed with major targets back up towards probably $50 plus. You know, we're talking like long term, you know, weeks, or not weeks, but months down the road probably. If you do close a weekly dildo above your range highs, which right now is about 33.60. If you're using a daily, I do think you could use a daily, but I need to see a closure of about 35, let's just call it $36. If one of those two things happens, I would start to really extend targets on the macro scale back around pretty much your all-time highs and look for a continuation from there. I think that this chart is actually one of the more comforting charts in cryptocurrency land. It does look to me like the correction is very likely over on this one. I imagine that momentum oscillators are probably shaping up to be the same as well. Let's just double check here. Let's go over to a daily maybe, and daily remains with upside posturing as long as we're above $26. So again, I do think that the short-term rally continues alongside Bitcoin probably bouncing. 5-day is, by the way, freshly turning up above 19.20, and weekly is also freshly turning up, rejecting the bearish control zone above $20. So this is looking good, and I do expect that this one does continue from here with those targets in mind. And to be quite honest with you, I actually do think that this is your next macro low. Just put it very bluntly. Short-term timeframes are continuation as well, so everything's pointed towards at least one more drive higher, very likely a pullback from there. I'm just looking for a higher low off of that pullback. I only am concerned about this one below 23.5, and hopefully that was helpful for Chainlink. One of the better charts that we've certainly seen today, in fact, especially coming off the lows. Nice, man. Elijah Smith says, hello, good sir. What's up, man? Happy weekend. It's fucking Monday, man. Can we take a look at Sol? Yeah, we should definitely look at Solana. Yeah, Solana. Elsa wants to invest in Solana, actually, because of the name, in fact. She likes Solana Beach. It's good enough for me, I guess. Anyways, let's see. Here we have Solana, symbol SOL versus the dollar, and we're coming off of our prior base at about 130 from the consolidation going back to October of last year, actually all the way to September lows, which is also the 200 simple on the daily as well. So very likely to bounce from a region like this. I imagine that, or we actually don't have any potential no potential divergences going on right there. But regardless of that, I do look for this one to bounce probably at minimum to about 150 or so short term. The question is, can it get above any of the major regions that actually do change around your trend? And for right now, it has a lot of fucking work to do. To make no mistake about it, while I do think that this one is short term bouncy, anything below 160 is quote unquote not fucking good. You do have a bit of a head and shoulders going on right here. You have many drives of bearish divergence come off the highs as well. And the next general target would be somewhere down around about $1.10 or so, $1.10 to $1.15 on a continuation move with any sort of a closure below your current lows, which is, let me just double check, about 132.5. Could I do this on a 4 hour as well? Probably could do it on a 4 hour as well. Until then, it's very similar to Bitcoin and most of the other things that we looked at within this market. I do think you're more likely to bounce here. 4 hour has many drives of bullish divergence come off the lows. You know, short-term targets back up to like 150 to 154, complete fair game. But here's the thing, where does your short-term time frame start to change around and also lead in and bleed into your medium and higher term time frames? Will be back up about 155. Above there, things start to look like they might have a small chance, I guess, with continuation targets up to about $1.75 to maybe even probably $1.70 to $1.75. However, long term, and I want to be very adamantly clear about this. This one is quite bearish as long as you're below the last, or what would be your right shoulder in this case, which is about $200. Here's the thing though, just like Bitcoin, which also has a potential head and shoulders reversal in play, if it does complete below, I think it was the $41,000 region or $40,000 region, whatever it is, you could imply a measured move, an implied target on a failure of that if and when this level is taken out right here at about a 203 to 204 region, which would be implying major moves up to about 330 to 335 or so long term. But keep in mind that that is hoping for right now. That is in no way, shape, or form playable until you actually do confirm back above $200. And there's going to be stops along the way as well, namely these 230 region right here, and also your prior all-time high at about 260 or so. Until then, short-term bouncy. Big problems below about $1.32, I think it was, or bless you, sir. And then we can go check out momentum as well. But I'm generally looking for bounces in most of this market. And then, you know, does the bounce bring it above those critical levels or not? If it does, good. If it doesn't, well, not great. Anyways, weekly will be remaining with upside. Oh, weekly ain't crossing up anytime soon. Weekly momentum is absolutely fucking wrecked here as long as we're below 190. So it's corrective at best. 5-day, 175, the magical number, which is the medium term target, is the target based off of a medium term time frame range break. That we spoke about earlier. Daily should be turning up as well above 140, so that is, you know, good for the short term. 12 hours already there, 136. 4 hour is also freshly up above about 140. So I am looking for this one to bounce here regardless of whether you're bullish or bearish. If the bounce does carry you back above this little rejective high right here, again, $154.5, I would extend those targets significantly all the way up to about $170 to $175. That's the big one, however. So hopefully that was helpful. And there you go for Solana. And again, if it does break below your current 132 region, big red dodos after that. Big red dodos. Looking for bounces somewhere around about $115, let's call it, and we'll come back to it after that, and probably continuation from there too after a bit of a bounce. Hopefully that's helpful. And there you go for Solana, sir. Cool. I think we got Mr. Patel next. Says DYDX KuCoin short-term analysis. Sure, DYDX. Okay. Let's see what we got here on Binance, and you're looking for short. I don't know what short term means to you, but I'm gonna guess that. Man, this thing looks like absolute fucking garbage. What a thing. Jesus, man, terrible, just fucking terrible. This one does not know what a rally is. It's never known what a rally is its whole damn life, and hanging out at the lows like most weak charts is not the strongest sign of all time. Here's the thing though, you know, if Bitcoin bounces, there's one bounce alongside of it. Likely yes. Is it going to be as strong as, you know, as many of the things that we've seen today? No, this one is relatively weak. My 3x long opened at 980 and is underwater. Yeah, man, you basically, you bought this high right here. I tip my hat to you, sir. Anyways, sorry, man. I can't help myself, but this is not great. It's going to be weak to the upside and it's going to overperform to the downside. Are you probably getting ready for a bounce here? Probably yes, as are most things. I think that the bounce could reasonably take you up to like $8 to $8.50, but there is no like real, or you're 980. You know, actually, I would actually call a reversal on this one if you do start to close daily doodles back up about 935, and you probably actually do go back up somewhere around, you know, 13, 14 bucks. But for right now, man, it's relatively weak. It's probably going to bounce short term, but any bounce that fails to get back up about 935, I mean, if Bitcoin breaks down, man, this thing's going to go down. This thing's going to go down to fucking below $4, I imagine. But for right now, you know, give it a chance. Obviously, many drives of bullish evidence come off the lows. Not like a great place to fucking short. Obviously, not that I think that you can maybe even short this thing, but ultimately, looking for some upside from here. The question is to get back above this rejective high that you saw on, I believe it was the 5th of January. If it does, I think that you're actually going to be in a little bit of profit there, and targets up towards, you know, 13, 14 bucks, kind of where I'm looking towards. You know, is this a major low or not? It's probably, like, it's going to depend on what Bitcoin does, but you do have a lot of things in place that do suggest that you're probably going to at least try some upside from here. At that point, man, you know, well, next time you should probably have a plan for what to do if things go wrong, because you quite literally did buy pretty much, I mean, you didn't buy exactly the high, but there is no range break here. And when you don't see a range break, I mean, there's no reason to be looking for a reversal, at least in the way that I do things, which doesn't mean that you have to do them as well. It's just, you know, you can kind of keep yourself safe that way, right? And if you're looking at this from a crown cross perspective, I mean, well, that's just a trend right there. So hopefully that was helpful. And Godspeed to you, sir. We have Dan Day next. Says, can we have an Ethereum overview? Yes, we can definitely do that. I'm going to plop it in over here, and I'm going to take a sippy sip of this. The LARP line hopium is actually holding through right there, which is not bad. Mr. Carter says, longtime ninja watcher, silence is key. The mods don't play here. Yeah, man, I mean our lovely moderators, they keep this community like nice and fucking tight, man. Tight like a tiger, which is exactly what we want, because, well, if you have just a bunch of people spamming and shit, it just gets annoying and kind of hard to navigate, and it's just, you know, that's not how you'd act in real life anyways. All right, should I delete this chart? I mean, all of these things are still relevant here. It's actually even played out in this fashion as well, which is kind of crazy. I'm gonna get rid of this because falling pizzas ain't fucking working, aren't they? Anyways, let's get rid of this, and I think we should do a new one. Yeah, I think we should do a new one and make it nice and simple here. All right, here we have Ethereum versus the dollar. And what do we have? Well, we do have a bit of a short-term bottom starting to formulate itself now. Short-term bottom is not the same thing as long-term reversal, but I would be calling a bit of a short-term move with any sort of a 4-hour closure back above about 32.85. And short-term, do I think that we test around there? Very likely, yes. If you do close above there, even on an hourly, I would be implying no. I would be raising targets up somewhere around about 34.50 to 34.75. I mean, to be fair, this one's been beat up pretty damn bad to the downside. Without any real major bounces. So I do think that it's kind of destined for a bit of a pity bounce here, similar to a lot of things within this market. And then the question is, does it get above any of the major regions on this next bounce? So going over here to the weekly, could you consider this a bit of a test of the 55? Yes. So naturally, you're very likely to see it bounce around that region. You saw Bitcoin kind of do the same thing for almost a month in December. Even though it did eventually fail, it did produce, a $6,000 move, which is significant. Like 15% move or so. Anyways, in this case right here, you're kind of testing around your September lows, obviously, and you would, technically speaking, have hidden bullish evidence if you do confirm a local low right here, which, by the way, you are on extremely low volatility as well on a weekly, as I'm going to guess at 5 days as well. Yeah, it is. However, the 5 days already kind of spilling in this case, which is not good. But ultimately, I'm looking for a short-term bounce here first. The question is, does it get above any of the major critical regions? The major critical regions for the higher-term timeframes, that meaning 12-hour daily and above, would be 34.50. Above there, I do actually look at this as your next sort of bear trap setup. Until then, it's only short-term bouncy, and short-term bounces, can be very tradable, obviously, but this one is not being very strong on its own, which does lead me to believe that whatever Bitcoin does, this one very likely follows as usual, but it's a lot less easy of a chart to love. Let's say I'm just curious to see what momentum looks like on a chart like this, just to see if it kind of aligns with short-term bouncy narrative. And daily will flip back up above 31.87, which is actually currently trading below right now. 12-hour is already flipping up above 31.35. Okay, so that'd be, I guess, good. 6 hours already up as well above 30.43, so that is good, building below the other higher-term timeframes. 4 hours showing 3100. Okay, also generally good, I would say. And hourly is flippy floppy down below 31.77, which are actually currently trading about $15 below. So that, man, this one is certainly operating relatively weak right here. What would I use in order to call continuation to the downside before any sort of a bounce, and where would my targets be essentially for that? Well, I suppose right here is the only area that makes sense, which is 30.15 in this case, even on a 4-hour closure. And I would be looking for the weekly to hit the 55 officially after that, if that condition is met, which would imply price target down around about 28.70. Until then, I'm a lot more likely to look for a bounce on this one. Could that come with another retest around your lows and a quick move back up? Perhaps yes. It can come many different ways, obviously. Again, I would imagine Bitcoin does something relatively similarly, but just like Bitcoin, I think it was above like 42,500 or so. The same area here would be 32.85. Above there, things start to look a little more interesting for the medium-term timeframes, with a big focus on this area right here at 34.75. Above there, that's when I think that there might be a bit of a hopium pull for, of course, a bit of a bear trap in this case. But it would have a shit ton of work to do, and probably would imply further targets up towards just shy of 3,700. Problem is that this chart is, this chart. Oh god, this chart is a fucking piece of work now, isn't it? Let me go to a monthly really quick. Yeah, I'm not. Whoops, my bad. Not a big fan of the monthly, man. If this one has another major dump, which I don't think would happen anytime soon, to be honest with you, but if it were to, I'd be looking somewhere down around about 2,400 to 2,300, to be quite honest with you. But for right now, the hopium is that you probably put in a low right here. I would not say probably happens, but if you see Bitcoin do something similar, if you see Bitcoin over here again, specifically get back above, let's call it 43,700 on a 4-hour delta closure, then I would be looking for Ethereum to do something relatively similar, and probably put in a more prolonged long-term bear trap. But man, it has a lot more work to do, and it is relatively weak in comparison to Bitcoin right now. So I'd be very, 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 very careful with a lot of these things, because if this one does fall through the floor, I mean, it's a long way down again, and this thing is just bounces have been banned on this one, unfortunately. Yeah, heavily bearish long term as long as you're below about 34.50, but it doesn't mean that you can't get back above there. It's just this one not very strong on its own. So hopefully that was helpful. And there you go for Ethereum. Let's see. Who do we have next? I think we have what? Nimai? Nimai, yes, I got it. Metis, yeah, Metis, gotcha. Should we? We can wait another 10 minutes. I don't think it's like too bad today, actually. Metis, very good. Very, very good. Very, very good. The best chart that we've seen today, in fact, just for the sheer fact that it's actually already at all-time highs versus Ethereum. But then again, in order to go up versus Ethereum, you just need to stay flat here versus the dollar, to be fair. But ultimately, pretty fucking good right here, right? You have your next higher low coming in right around 4.5 cents. I'm bullish as all, I wouldn't say bullish as all hell, but I'm bullish as long as you're above that region. Any sort of a move below about 4.5 to 4.75 cents, and I'd be looking for just corrections down to about 3.5 B-rolls or whatever the hell that number is. Until then, this is all continuation, man. This one's trending on all time frames. You know, you're going to see some ebbs and flows, naturally speaking. In this case, full hour is trending right now, obviously, so you probably do see maybe a little bit of a pullback around your prior wick highs right here at about 0.08, but ultimately, I'm looking for this one to continue on medium and higher term time frames after maybe a bit of a short-term pullback from there, assuming that pullbacks do not bring you back down below your current lows right here, which is actually more like 0.05, not 0.45, which I got wrong earlier. But ultimately, let the trend be your friend, man. And this one's pretty damn simple right there. In fact, if you're, do I think that the pullback is done? I think that the pullback is done on the daily, yes, but full hour is very likely to continue right here and then pull back into another higher low on the full hour, and then I'd be looking for daily continuation after that, man. Actually, legitimately one of the better charts today. Not legitimately, like it is one of the better charts today, no doubt about that. Vince says Rose USD short term, 1 hour and 4 hour and daily. Okay, all right. Okay. Let's see. I know that this one's rather popular, but not so much anymore. In fact, but actually okay here. I remember we looked at this one last week and it was okay. And I'd still say that's generally okay here. Anyways, do we see anything that's obvious? Yes, we do. We do have, or sorry, we do not have. In fact, we do not have. No, we do. Yeah, we will have hidden bullish divergence. If it does confirm a local low right here, how would you confirm a local low? Well, could I use a 4 hour in this case? Yeah, I could probably use a 4 hour in this case. I'd want to see a 4 hour closure above about 36.5, or it's not 36, 38.5 cents, 38.5 cents. If you can do something like that, that would make this look like the next local low on the daily, thus confirming hidden bullish divergence, thus confirming another drive, very likely somewhere around, I'm guessing your all-time highs. Yeah. 44 to 44.5 cents or so. For right now, the 4 hour, again, showing continuation of bounce, good bullish divergence come off the lows right there. 12 hour is, are we going to do the same thing? It's going to have hidden bullish divergence as well. And so if that does get confirmed on the next closure in 4 hour, 36 minutes and 14 seconds, I'd be looking for, targets up even a little bit further north than what I was kind of postulating before. Weekly, how did this one look? Consolidation at the highs. So if let's talk about what happens if one fails below about 31.5 cents, your lows from yesterday. So any sort of a closure below 31.5 cent lows, I would actually be looking for this one to go for a pretty decent retrace back down to your December lows. In this case, I'm going to guess that that's a 21. Yeah, about 27 to 27.5 cents. Until then, this is actually among some of the better charts today as well. I'm generally going to be bullish on this one, to be honest with you. And but here's the thing: long term, I would not call this one a breakout until you actually officially successfully close above 47 cents, which is also 1.618 now that I look at it right here. Until then, I think it's among some of the better charts. Absolutely, just want to see it, confirm itself above those regions. And long term, probably looking at moves towards 65 to 70 cents. That'd be obviously more long term, but for right now, among some of the better charts, certainly. So hopefully that's helpful. And there you go for that, sir. You said a 1 hour as well. Let's just double check here. Is there anything that I'm missing? Very, very short term time frames like this are going to naturally have a lot of ebbs and flows, but I'd be consistent with the levels that we called out earlier. Those are the ones that I think are going to hold a lot of weight there. Mitchell Giddens says, super please, super sir. Sure. This is Elio's shitcoin right here. I say that as a term of endearment. I obviously know Elio pretty damn well. I consider him one of my good friends, and he actually puts a lot of effort into this thing. Anyways, I'm going to redo the chart for these time frames. Or actually, no, you didn't give me any time frames, but I'm just going to redo the chart for a daily. All right, so what do we have going on right now? Let's go to a weekly first. Not great on a weekly, man. Not great on a weekly. I would not call this one safe for the long term, let's say, as long as you're below about 140. Above 140, I'd be bullish as all hell on this one, with targets back up towards probably like 2.5 to 270 or so. Shorter term time frames like a 4 hour, I don't know if this is relevant to you or not, do suggest kind of the same thing that we've been postulating on just about every chart today, which is bounce first. Bounce targets can, just as easily come back up to 111, 110 to 111, but nothing really changes here on the short term time frames like a 4 hour, as long as you're below 111 on a 4 hour closing basis. Above there, that's where things start to change around a little bit, and I do look for this one to put in a nice rally back up to about $1.25, maybe even $1.40, and at that point, obviously the higher term time frames can take over, but this is hopium right now. Please do understand, and technically speaking, this is just, this is another continuation formation right here yet again in the format of a descending triangle. Now, I actually don't think that this one's going to play out. The reason why I don't think it's going to play out, because you don't have hidden bearish divergence here yet. You don't have hidden bearish divergence there just yet. If you do, then they become a lot more likely to play out in this case, and I'd be looking at targets down, I think, towards 80 cents or 85 cents maybe it was. If that were to happen, yeah, about 85 cents or so. Until then, I do see that you are on the daily 200 simple, more likely to bounce here than not. Let's see if it gets back above one of those critical regions. If it does, well, I think that the hopium can resume. Until then, in a precarious place, but I would not call a breakdown until you actually officially close below your current low side structure, which is 98 cents on, a 4 hour in this case. And then, yeah, I'd be looking at targets down, I guess, towards, I guess towards 85 cents or so. Until then, I think it's very similar to most things within this market. They're going to very likely have a chance here for at least a short-term bounce. The question is, does that short-term bounce bring you back above any critical regions, which is what we marked off earlier. First, 120 would be the next sort of more like 125, 120 to 125. 120 probably gets it anyways. It's going to be like your next sort of, okay, hopium is still on above 140. It's not just hopium anymore. It's like, this is good. Probably setting up for another major run. But until then, all trends are down, and that ain't no friend of you usually. Anyways, let's see. I think we got Jack Jansen next. Says Magic versus Ethereum. Okay. Let's try this baby out, and you're looking at a 4 hour and daily. Okay, all right. Kind of losing its luster right there, coming off the highs, but is that super problematic within the context of a general up and to the right trend? No. However, I do think that you will come down inevitably further south before trying for your next major low, somewhere around your 0.62 region, somewhere down around here is kind of where I'm looking for. Something like that. However, again, long term, I guess it's okay. Then again, it's being charted versus Ethereum here. So Ethereum, it's obviously been seeing some pretty nasty downside. So if this thing just holds sideways versus the dollar, well, it'll naturally go up. But for right now, longer term time frames like a weekly, just curious. Still going to be long-term good. 4 hour, as you did request as well, I do think has some short-term downside. Can very easily come down to the levels that we just spoke about, but I'm going to be long-term bullish on this one as long as you're specifically above that region. Again, like right here. So short-term pullbacks can come back down around there. I don't see any major issues with that. The major issues are below this region. Until then, among some of the better ones, just playing out a bit of a pullback right here. I'd really be looking for daily BBWP to come down, preferably below 25 percentile. If you see something like that, that's probably going to be a good indication that you're seeing your next local low. But for right now, you got many drives of bearish evidence come off the highs. You got 1, 2, 3. So to me, that's probably going to do a little bit of a deeper pullback. On a validation above your current high side structure, which is 0.188. I'm looking for big moves up actually, but I think that you correct first before trying to move like that, and then maybe try some upside. Mr. What? Yeah, we can close the super chats now. Jack's back. He says Matic. Yeah, we haven't looked at Matic today. I guess this one's like maybe uninteresting because maybe it's not just going to the fucking moon and beyond. Hey, there we go. Hey, it looks like we did hit our whoopsies. Yeah, I'll ping your message, sir. All right, my voice is starting to fail me as well, so I'm going to pin that. I'm going to take a sip of this. Indeed it is, Nikki. It is very simple. However, you'd be surprised. You'd be very surprised. I even have a video on it as the intro video to this channel on the homepage. If it does get a little bit confusing, but fair enough. Anyways, should I redo this chart? I mean, this chart's still working here, but it's just kind of convoluted. All right, might as well redo it, I guess. Anyways, okay, so let's record this one. Here we have Polygon symbol Matic versus the dollar, requested by Mr. Jack, and we are, or at least I'm looking at this as, you know, the correction to $2 has mostly played out right here. Does look like we're getting a bit of a higher low here in comparison to our last major low, right around about 180 or so. So I still look at this as generally good, and this low would also be accompanied by hidden bullish divergence come off this region as well. And this was kind of pulling back, or sorry, pulling back during a contraction of volatility. So I look at this first and foremost as long-term continuation of trend. I mean, it's been doing the same thing ever since essentially July, so I go with that until proven otherwise. We also see daily Jewel Light is starting to lose its downside curvature, which is usually a good sign that the downside correction is probably nearing its end for right now. 5-day and weekly are still, you know, long-term going to be good. I think you can very easily spend some more time within this region, maybe even grind out the lows once or twice more. But ultimately, I do like this area for a nice low side structure. Even when I go to the 4 hour right here, we do see many drives of bullish divergence come off the lows. So I'm looking for a short-term move back up somewhere around about 224 to 225. However, where do things change around, and where do I start to confirm this as a major low, not just for the 4 hour, but bleeding into the daily and higher term timeframes, would be on a 4 hour closure, actually above about 228. If I do see something like that, I'm looking for this one to actually put in some big rally attempts. There will be stops along the way, obviously, but I'd generally be looking back around about 267, and then long term, I'll just be looking for, you know, long term continuation here, obviously. But this is a lot more of a long term idea. If you're just on the short term timeframes, that's kind of where I'd be looking for. That's where things start to change around. Until then, you know, still correcto obviously here, but where would I call this one a little bit more in a precarious place? That would be with a 4 hour closure below about $1.92 in this case, and at that point, I would be looking for another move all the way down to about $1.75 to $1.80, and at that point I would no longer be long-term bullish on this one. I would say that the long-term structure is starting to, you know, be broken. But here's the thing, look at the monthly is still good. We see a backfill on last month open. That is okay, that is fine. And that is kind of to be expected, but that would also imply that we do see continuation of new all-time highs, maybe this month, probably February, if that is going to hold true. So this one is kind of on like a timer here for the macro in this case. I also want to check out momentum from a stochastic perspective, just to see you know, where it's kind of aligning with, and see if that kind of fits my biases here as well based off of the general analysis. And yeah, daily turns back up from a very low level, might I add, with any sort of a closure today above 199, which is good, obviously. 12 hour, same thing, 196, so even better, building below it. And we see the 6 hour already there, 197, so building even below that. And 4 hour is already up well above $2. So I do think that this one's probably setting a nice little low right here. You know, there's going to be some ebbs and flows in the short-term timeframes, obviously, but you know, I'm going to favor the charts that have been acting strong. Again, the big area to be aware of to the upside is about $1.28, I think it was, on a 4 hour. Whatever this high is right here. Actually, it's 229 in this case. So anywhere above there, I do start to look at this one as, okay, correction is over, and we have our next higher low in, and we would naturally have some hidden bullish evidence to accompany that as well, which is going to target moves, you know, back into the deeper $2 over time. So again, a lot more of a longer term play here, but you can kind of see it in motion. So hopefully that was helpful, and there you go for Polygon, sir. All right, a dingo ate my Satoshis. Thank you. No problem, man. All right, sweet. Jack Jensen. Oh, nope. We just got Jack Jensen. Tabin says, best wishes in the new year to you as well, man. F51 on New Connect. I don't think this is going to be on TradingView, or at least I'm going to guess. It is. Okay. All right. What the fuck is this, man? Is there a chance for a local bottom on the weekly? Also, Island Boys and Wise Asian Old Voice Man. Is the bottom in? My voice actually can't take it right now, man. My voice, I think I was kind of like sick over the weekend, but I'm feeling better now. It's probably fine. Is the bot, like, this is a weird ass looking chart, man. Just what the hell is New Connect Exchange? Sounds like a scam, but I don't know, the chart ain't bad, man. It goes up into the right. It's been around for about almost 10 years now, so it can't be that bad. Maybe I'm just uneducated on this. I would not call the correction over just yet. I'd call the correction over once you get back above 59, but I do think you probably are setting in a major low here, to be fair. What about a monthly? Yeah, probably yes. You know, low volatility pulling into what would be another higher low. If you do take another dump, $35 is my target, but for right now, I'm looking at this one as short term, maybe pulls back a little bit. If you do confirm above, however, again, what was it, like 58? Yeah, at that point, I'd say that that is your next major macro low, and very likely does trudge back on towards prior highs and beyond. But man, what the fuck is New Connect? Like, what is this? Is this Polish? or is that Singapore? Or I don't know. I don't know, man. That's a first for me though. Stephen Hayes says, could you do a link? Yep, we already got that one, so all good. It's first ever super chat. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. But I think we got it earlier. I also recorded it as well, so do a little bit more of a deep dive into that. So I'm guessing I'm just got to this one later. Tyler Reich says FTM. Yes, Phantom. Yes, Phantom. Yes, very good, Phantom. I like it, man. I don't think this is bad, man. I was talking to my good friend Mr. Coop about this one as well. There's a lot of very interesting things going on in this one as far as charting goes. Okay. Here we have Phantom symbol FTM versus the dollar, and a very, oh shit, hold on, maybe I can get back my charts. Hold on, let's see. We charted this one out over the weekend. We said, it's very likely to pull back from this $3 area right here, but pullback is not the same thing as reversal. We hit our first pullback target, which was 240. Now kind of getting an initial bounce off from there. I do think, could potentially pull back a little bit more towards $2 even. That's not problematic. Where I start to destroy this one in this more immediate good posturing would be below specifically $2 on a daily. At that point, I would look for this one to kind of pull an avalanche where it comes all the way back down to like your 140 lows right here and try for another higher low there, which would actually still be decent long term. But for right now, I do treat it as in a position of power. Short-term time frames like a 4 hour are not giving me any easy calls right here for like a divergence, although we do see 4 hour jewel still remaining with upside posturing, although it would have been a lot easier as it was like fully first turning right there. Until then, I just kind of play this one range to range, and I would call this one resolved as your next higher low with any sort of a 4 hour closure above about 253 in that case, looking for moves back up towards 280 to $3 or so, and that obviously puts it back in a position of power. And if you are back on over here on a daily looking for the big bad breakout, the same conditions apply as before. 320 would be my magical number for that. Need to see a closure above there, and then looking at targets up towards 470 to 580 in the following weeks, and then probably more more upside, assuming validation above there in the months to follow. But I just want to briefly check out momentum on this one because I don't see any like super obvious signals actually just yet. I'll just be going by ranges thus far, of which the 4 hour stochastic momentum remains the upside as long as above 228, so that is good for right now. 12 hour will turn back up above 263. Okay, so that is actually, I believe, one of your range resolutions, and $3 turns back above $3, or sorry, daily turns back above $3. What about a 5 day and a weekly? Yeah, 5 days fresh up above 140. That's very good. And weekly is fresh up, rejecting the bearish control zone above 174. So, short-term pullbacks are fine. Again, I'm just looking at in this one, kind of same thing as over this weekend. We hit our pullback targets. It can grind out these areas a few more times, maybe even come down to like low $2. But I'm essentially looking at this as a low being constructed. We don't necessarily have it just yet. As long as you're above about $2 with confirmation back above about 253 in that case. And this one, again, among some of the better charts. I think the monthly also was decent. I mean, it's good, but it's not like super obvious right there. So I think I'll just hold off on that statement. Bi-weekly, again, probably more likely to consolidate here for a longer time, just looking at this one. But ultimately, I do like the chart, in fact. So hopefully that was helpful. Just more of a long-term thing, I suspect. And there you go for Phantom, sir. Sweet. Crypto King says, please, could you do TA on CHKR? It is a stock that gives dividends 4 times a year. Okay, that's usually what happens when you have a dividend stock. Sorry. Chesapeake. Oh, I know this one, but not from that. Granite Trust? What the fuck? I know like Chesapeake Energy. This one trades OTC. Okay, well, of course they give dividends. It's a shitcoin of a fucking stock, man. It's probably okay here, to be honest with you. And I do think that this one does have some upside from here. But if you're going to play a dividend stock, you play the dividend, you don't play the fucking structure. Long term, just god awful, just fucking terrible. I mean, just like, it's like, the fuck? Wait, where's my damn? Just like this, dude. I mean, that's your fucking chart right there. Just a pile of steaming hot garbage. But do I think that you are maybe in the context of a macro reversal right here? Definitely possible, actually. What's going on right now? Confirmation above 91 cents. That would be my I can see my poop chart in the background. Great. Confirmation above about 91 cents, and I actually would call this one a major reversal with targets back up somewhere back around here, 147 to 150 or so. Until then, short term, it's actually okay here. It probably does continue. I'd only call this one a failure, and with major downside targets below 65 cents. Below 65 cents, I do look for this one to completely fall apart, shit the bed down towards 45 cents, and maybe even low over time after a bit of a bounce there. But Yeah, never gonna like a chart that looks like that. This one's been straight down for 10 years, man. It's kind of hard to be looking for a reversal. It's based off of that, but fair enough. You know, there is a few things of interest right there. Let's see. We have Tuggy Peppa says LP10. By the way, just as an aside, dividends only come 4 times a year. just so you know. But fair enough, man. Fair enough. I do hope it works out for you, however. LPT USD daily for Mr. Tuggy Peppa. Another chart that's not really strong on its own, but you can see that, you know, maybe it's putting a bit of a higher low right there. Would we have hidden bullish divergence? We would. Yes, we would actually. So that is a little bit of a better thing. Where does this get destroyed as an idea, or where do I turn full on bearish on this one with no more Bula hopium excuses for it? Below 32.85. Below 32.85 on a daily closure. Send this baby back down to the abyss, $26.50, $25 or so, and you know, probably more over time to be fair as well. Until then, kind of similar to Link actually, doing the dance of death right around your low side structure, which is okay. I mean, something like this, right? But we would expect it essentially not to close on new lows over the last few days. Short-term time frames like a full hour, you know, not really giving me too much. I do see a bit of a short-term range here, which would actually play into the daily with any sort of a 4-hour close above 38.80. I would be looking for this one to pop back up and retest former glories at like $43 to $45. And, you know, long-term, which sounds like you probably more are aligned with. Where do you get excited about something like this? It's actually quite simple in this case. Any sort of a daily closure above these wick highs right here at about 47.75. Above there, this one starts to look like one major massive accumulation with, you know, targets back up towards not just this area, but this area right here at like, you know, $70 and probably just works its way on to $100. And honestly, I don't think it's that bad right here, to be honest with you. But again, if Bitcoin dumps out, do I expect this thing to not dump out as well? No, I expect this thing to dump out even harder. So again, as always, it's very pertinent to be watching Bitcoin, but hopefully that was helpful regardless. Thomas Dan says Matic. Yep, we got that one earlier, so good to go. Todd Hall says OVR versus Ethereum. Okay, OVR. All right, well, it's there, so that's good. Daily, weekly, metaverse shitcoin seems to be holding up okay. Let's see, is there a daily on this one? There is. Actually, this one has a decent amount of history. It's been around for a year. That's better than most, in fact. It's not bad, and yeah, I'd agree. It's certainly holding up relatively well. Showing relative strength. Weekly even closed on new highs on this rally. That is good. I think that you could very easily see a pullback down to like, what is that, 7 million or 70 million? I don't know what the fuck it is. The one that starts with the 7 could easily pull back there. But ultimately, I look at this as continuation of trend here. Daily RSI just briefly getting back into the bullish control zone for the first time in a while, which is good. I would remain bullish on this one, especially as long as you're holding this higher low at 635. Short-term pullbacks, like I said, to 7, not 0.997 is probably fine. Probably even happens as well, but long-term, I'm probably looking for continuation here. If you're on a monthly, I'd actually be looking for a continuation over the next few months, maybe back around your prior all-time closing highs, and very likely a big pullback from there. Where would I call a continuation from your current structure? I need to see a closing high above this wick high right here, which is 0.842. And at that point, I'd be targeting not necessarily your prior closing highs, but somewhere right around here on this rejective high, which is 0.99911, something like this. And obviously that'd be good and be continuation and just be more continuation of uptrend. I only get bearish on it below this region right here, basically. It's good. What?
Can you check the last comment? Because I don't know if that's relevant.
Okay. 890 entry. Yeah, it doesn't really. I mean, yeah, it's a bit of a better entry, Mr. Patel. It doesn't really change the analysis, but it's better entry. I mean, again, I'm not like trading for you. I'm just analyzing the charts, which hopefully can be in some way helpful. But yeah, I generally think that you're probably gonna get a chance to get out at least at break even, probably even with a little bit of profit. Again, look, if Bitcoin reverses here, everything's gonna go up with it, right? If Bitcoin doesn't, if Bitcoin rejects and trades lower, well, that one has a lot more low to go because it is relatively weak, obviously. Forrest says, thanks for the video, man. I just got here. All good. Do you think Bitcoin will dip more? You can always scroll back to the beginning of the stream. I really hope so. I want cheaper Ethereum. No, I do think that Bitcoin, I think that the market's generally setting up for a bounce out of this region first before any continuation to the downside. But it just depends what time frame you're on. Like if you're on any time frame that actually matters for trend, well, there's a there's not just a good chance, it is the more likely thing for Bitcoin to go lower. So it just depends what you're kind of talking about. If you're more of a short-term time frame trader, I do think that Bitcoin at least gives a try here first. The real question to me is, and probably what's more suitable to you, is that does Bitcoin get back above about 43,700 or not? If it does, well, I would say that there's a potential that we might actually see a bear trap in these next couple weeks. If Bitcoin fails to do that, especially like early this week, then more of the same, and you probably get your wish true. And Ethereum, yeah, it's probably gonna be the one to be looking at too, because that one's certainly relatively weak right now. Jesus, man, nasty. Mylene Gomes says, can you please look at BNB USD on short term? Okay. BNB. So you're saying 1 hour. Thank you for specifying, by the way. You said long term as well, but you didn't say what time frame for long term. Hourly right here. You do see a very short term time frame reversal. I never trust these too much because it's fucking hourly. And there's got to be some more obvious than like a 4 hour. It's got a little bit of bullish evidence right there. Where's your range is essentially, I mean, this is just lower highs. Yeah, this is the problem with using an hourly right here. You'd be saying, oh shit, we have a reversal already, but no, man, it really doesn't mean much. This would be my reversal area, 460. Higher term timeframes daily. Are we seeing more bounce activity here or not, or maybe a weekly? I'm looking, honestly, if Bitcoin dumps out, I'm looking at this one at 390 to 395. I actually don't think that this is a bad chart long term, but any bounce over the next few weeks that fails to get back above 495, I would at minimum be looking for that one to test down around there. Here's the thing though. Let's make this chart very simple on the long term. There's your highs. Here's your rising bottoms right here. Any sort of a closure below this reach right here would start to destroy that narrative and imply moves back down towards your, I'm guessing, summer lows. That is summer lows, $300 or so. Until then, I'm actually not really seeing too many things that suggest bounce on this one in particular. But when I see it on most things across the market, I'm going to be biased towards that first. The question is, does it get back above the critical level or not? If it does, again, about, what was it, 460? Did I delete it already? What the fuck? 460 right here, then I'd say it at least has a short-term chance, and I would be marching targets back up towards 480. I think that was around your weekly area. Yeah, weekly area is a little bit higher than that, towards 490, but at least it'd start to look like it actually has a chance to put in a bit of a trap. Until then, you know, I think it's gonna be a lot more easy to watch Bitcoin in this case, and I'd be looking for another retest of about $400 low. If you do see, where would I judge that one? I wouldn't even judge it on a 4 hour. Yeah, I wouldn't judge it on this one. I'd just be looking at Bitcoin in this case. It's just easier, man, just easier. Which Bitcoin, what are you doing? Uh-oh, Bitcoin already fading its current setup. It didn't even have it's losing its setup as well. Let's see, the Yole Bear, I think is next. He says, market reaction when the James Webb confirms aliens. I have no idea what that means, man. I don't know, man. With aliens, oh Jesus Christ, man! We just got the fucking we just got the whole flu thing, man. I don't think we can deal with aliens just yet. We need like a few years of just normality before that. Nuke Texas, dude, bro, keep on keeping on. Yep, we got Phantom early. I even recorded it as well, so all good there. Cool. Miko's Adventure says, Sierra, please. Sure, man, and yes, I will take you upon that proposal. Okay, Bittrex I think is the one to go to on this one, and no time frames given. I'm just gonna roll with a daily. Don't like it, man. Broke below this last low right here. You know, you probably do have a little bit of a short-term rally. The only hopium for this one is that you are now going to put in a bear trap, which can happen. I mean, when you do see, okay, so here's a little bit of a fun topic to get into, but okay, so you technically do have a breakdown right here. You broke below your 4th of December wick lows. When you hang around that low, you know, for kind of a longer time after technically breaking it without continuation, those are the trappy situations. And again, market analysis over individualistic analysis. And in this case, market analysis, I think, you know, more things are kind of showing a little bit more bounce than not. So I do think that this could be a candidate for a bear trap. How would you confirm a bear trap? I want to see a 4-hour closure, no less than 48.80 within the next couple days here, and this will be fully confirmed on a daily with targets back up towards your prior range highs with any sort of a daily closure above 50 cents in this case. Until then, you know, technically speaking, this should be a breakdown, but when you see it kind of hang around the breakdown area for this long, those are trap situations. Yeah, those are trap situations, especially with the daily RSI looking like this as well. So I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that, you know, again, we don't see most things like breaking their current low side structures anyway. So a little bit more on edge with a statement like that. Where would, until then though, I actually should be looking for continuation. I mean, this is a downtrend still here on the 4 hour, but you see many drives bullish evidence. Maybe at 12 hours is going to be more obvious. 12 hours coming off the 200 simple. Oh, look, this is a strong candidate for a bear trap right here, to be honest with you. Very, very strong candidate. I should be bearish on this one. I'm not going to be bearish on this one. However, this has a lot of things written that it probably does end up being a bear trap. Just be aware of where those validations are, because I cannot officially say that it is until those things happen. But jeez fucking Christ, man, what the hell happened right there is a real question on that wick. BK says CRV USD. Yep, man, let's do that one. We haven't done CRV today. And this one is, well, I'd actually be very interested to see it today. Okay, so it did fade its rally a little bit, or not a little bit, but did fade its rally from last week. Do we see anything that's obvious right here? Already making lower lows and this low right here on daily RSI. So potential regular, or sorry, not regular, but hidden bullish evidence. 4 hour, again, easier to play the ranges in this case. We're actually on the lower level that I marked off. If you were going to fail, I think it was, right? I guess this was some sort of a pullback target right here. Whatever it was, I am looking for a bounce off this region, similar to what we're kind of looking at in the general market. Where do things actually switch around on this asset? However, 487 above there, I do look for this one to actually go on a nice rally over the next few days, probably somewhere back around about 5.5, with continuation, very likely to your prior range highs after that. What about a weekly, however? If this one does have one more move to the downside, I'm basically looking somewhere down around 410 to 420 or so. Great number. Until then, I actually do think that this one, you know, very likely does bounce up from here. Apologies on that though. However, we did have to turn off the super chat, sir. For context, the James Webb is a deep space telescope, 1 trillion SHIB, more powerful than the Hubble. Fair enough, man. Super bullish on it. Love it. Fair enough, man. Thank you for clarifying on that. I have no idea what the hell you're talking about, but it looks like I have a few things to Google after this stream here. I'm still going to like this chart long term. I think that you're generally in a bouncy area. Where do things start to, you know, look back in a... Did I get missed? I don't think. No, you didn't get missed. You're just like a few more chats away, actually, man. You know, I just want to see it validated above these regions. That's going to start to make this look like your next major low, actually. Until then, again, easier to go with Bitcoin, but I'm still going to like this chart more long term, man. It's not bad. At least yet. I'll only get bearish on this chart with, like, you know, closures below $4 even, or 410 even on a daily. Cool. No more paper says dash. Holy shit, man. Dash, huh? Wow. Okay, 6 hour and daily. I'm actually curious to see what this thing looks like. Oldie looks good. I'd respectfully disagree on that. Pretty bad for the long-term history. That's for certain. This thing here's a real chart, by the way. Just a fucking bar follow right there. But, you know, kind of similar to Link, actually, where you can see it's putting in a bit of a weekly low here. So I would agree with that. I would agree with that in the more recent times. You know, obviously long term is going to confirm back above about 266. You do see a rising trend line right here, which is good. And you did just reclaim the 200 simple on yesterday's close. So that is also good on the daily. On the weekly. Daily, yeah, I think that you are putting in a bit of a low right here. Bullish evidence come off the lows. Probably next target somewhere around about $1.75, and then any sort of a closure above that region. And I'm looking for this one to very likely, you know, do something like this, right? Something similar to Link, maybe like that, and then come back down, and then hopefully you get a higher low somewhere right around here. Looks like a little cock and balls, and then the hoping is that you do that. The doom is that you do that. But yeah, I do think that you're setting a base right here, and the next move is generally to the upside on the daily. So hopefully that was helpful. Mr. King Cosmic, man, been a while, and without you, man, I typically don't check out traditional markets, so thank God for you, man. Let's go over here to SPY. I know exactly what you want. Peace be upon you as well. Yeah, SPY, similar to cryptos, as you would expect. You know, they are generally doing the same thing, kind of in a higher beta fashion, that is. You know, very likely to bounce off this region right here. You do still have your uptrend, obviously, and this would just be another higher low, and that higher low would not have hidden bullish evidence, so that would be a bit of a counterpoint to potential goodness right there. Hourly, Same thing as Bitcoin, although this one does not look as strong in the short term. I'd like to see this one specifically get back above 47.10, let's call it, on an hourly closure. At that point, I would start to confirm this as your next daily low, which would be another higher low with targets back up somewhere around about 47.40 to 47.50. That starts to look really, really good for the, I guess, like another try higher, I suppose. It's fucking crazy on a weekly. Where would I call this one a failure with targets down towards your next weekly level, which is 45.80? That would be, let's go to an hourly in this case. I guess that would be with an hourly closure on new lows below 46.50. Then I would target that region. But until then, I think you're more likely to bounce here than not. But man, this is, man, every time I look at this chart, I'm just like, fucking hell. Like, Jesus Christ, man. At some point, this thing will come down. Is it right now? I mean, you're starting to print another drive of bearish divergence right there too. Jesus, dude. I mean, if this one takes out the last month low at 4,500 or so, this thing's going to come down really fucking hard this quarter. I'm talking like down to 4150. But for right now, I guess you give it another chance. I mean, you know, I shouldn't be bearish exactly at this point, but man, at some point, man, the chickens will come home to roost, I think. Ken Norris says UTK. Sure. UTK, USD, and then it's Gemini Athlete, sir. But yeah, man, we go in terms of the value of the super chat, just because, like, you know, then it's more fair. Like the people who are donating more, like, you know, it kind of makes sense that they should be read first, especially when we only got limited time here, anyways. Weird chart just because it's very sloppy and sideways, and a lot of wicks here. So I'm imagining it's pretty liquid. But you know, you can kind of see the same sort of fractal of a chart here as you do on Link, especially put on like a line chart, right? You're getting your higher lows. I guess I've already charted this one out before, and these areas are still very much relevant right here. If you go down to a daily, yep, exactly right there at 41 cents, above 41 cents. I start to confirm this as your next like macro low, or I wouldn't say macro low, but major low, with targets back up towards your range highs at about 49 cents, above 49 cents. There's your macro accumulation confirmed, and very likely works its way back up towards, you know, prior glories at like 69 to 70 cents or so. Anyways, there he is, Gemini Athlete, Ren, daily, weekly, and monthly. This one actually probably does have a monthly, just because I'm pretty sure it was around in 2018. We can do analysis on charts like this, by the way. Let me just put this one on right here. Again, another one that's like, you know, you see a lot of these charts that are just, they're relatively weak. But considering what Link did, you know, can we see something similar over here? I'm just going to get rid of this trend. That trend line is, well, it was working, because once we broke it, actually, this whole price action happened right here. But here's the thing, you know, you have another potential for a third drive of bullish divergence. If you confirm this as a local low, how'd you do that? Just a closure above about 53.5 cents would do it for me, with targets back up towards your range highs at 62 cents. Above 75 cents is where this one really starts to look like a major low, like a potentially a macro low, with targets back up longer term around your like 130 to, like 1.25 to 140 highs, and that starts to look pretty damn good. And it sounds like you're more interested in the long term, so I'll just kind of leave it right there. Where would I look for continuation? I mean, technically speaking, as long as this one's below the validation for this operating as a local low, I should be looking for continuation with targets down towards basically our summer lows. But you know, we see a lot of things in the market with a similar structure to this, putting in some nice lows right here. So again, if Bitcoin bounces, you're probably going to see this one confirm as well. And I generally, personally speaking, I do think that you are going to confirm that and probably do work your way up from those lows. Sweet. AK Makar says Rose. Yep, we got that one earlier, so good. Nope, you say Adam now. Okay, relax. I got it over here. Cosmos. Okay, and you're looking at a full hour and daily. Let me plop it in over here. Yeah, and this is another one that we looked over the weekend. It hit our first pullback target right, or sorry, it actually hit our second pullback target right here. That's good. That's fine. Basically the same analysis as Phantom, right? As long as you're above 33.35 on a daily closing basis, I'm just looking at this as your next higher low. And do you have anything that supports that? Well, not hidden bullish evidence, which it would be a lot more easy. 4 hour, do you see anything right here? Yeah, okay, if the 4 hour does close above, and let me get rid of this for right now, let's just make things easier. If 4 hour does close above these little range highs at $38, I would say that this is going to be your next major low, and you do work your way back up towards your $44.5 highs. Above there on a daily closure, I look for this one to actually break out and make a big move up towards $50 or so over time in the following weeks. Until then, you know, be aware that to the downside, you got problems below, what was it? 33, or was it 32.5 or 33? Whatever, just this area right here. Anthony Wildman says, oh, Hito ma and Kila en ikana yua. Yes, I agree. BK's back, says Vader. Vader versus Ethereum. Yep, we can do that. All right, let's see. Okay. Yeah, I remember this one from last week. Is it time for a fresh chart? I mean, what is this one doing right here? It's actually still not bad, to be honest with you. I want to be bearish on this one, but I cannot be bearish on it. Just looking to this is another higher low, man. I'll only be bearish on this one, looking for moves down towards 165, 170-ish region, somewhere down around here. I guess more like 170 on a 4-hour closing lower low than 210. Until then, regular bullish divergence building up right there. This one would start to confirm this as your next sort of nice low above about 273 with targets back up towards your prior highs and probably continuation from there. Well, at least targets back up towards your prior highs, and then I'm going to come back to it after that. Below, again, this region, I do look for it to retest around your lows from late December. I'm more biased towards an upside there. Again, whatever Bitcoin does, this one will follow, but Bitcoin likely bouncing here more than not. The better 101 says QNT. Do I know anything about QNT? I mean, I've seen its charts before, but I don't know anything about the project, nor do I, that's just not my edge, man. That's just not what I'm interested in, to be honest with you. I don't see that you have a time frame included, so I'm just going to roll with this one. Apparently, I've charted it before, but I'm going to rechart it for a daily, and I'll just go as far as saying that's a very simplistic analysis. Above 207.5, I look at this as your next major low with targets back up towards 275, maybe even 300 over time. Below 159 on a daily, I look for this one to completely shit the bed. First target 140, and then probably down to 120 after that, after a bit of a short-term bounce. Harry Bennett says, please look at FT stock on TSX. No, okay, on a daily, thank God. FT, thank you for specifying the thingy as well. Daily is good for what it's worth. Yeah, daily, I'm looking for this one to pop back up towards 17 cents, maybe 17.5 cents, something like that. Long term, we have another shitcoin of a stock. Terrible, absolutely fucking terrible. But I do think that you are putting in a short-term upside move here. And you do see a bit of a weekly reversal. So probably working its way up towards 17.5, maybe like 18.5 cents. Just hard to love a chart like that looks like this ever. But yeah, I do think they have some upside from here. I would not call any macro reversals on this thing as long as you're below. It's not even helpful, man, but 39 cents. So, it can rally up quite a fair bit, but lower highs the whole way through for decades on end is not a good sign. LAG says, hi, sir, Luna 4 and daily. Sure, man. This is the last of the last of the Mohicans. All right. Lunar. See where this one is. I think this one's taking a bit of a reprieve itself. Have an area here marked off, but for what purpose? We do see hidden bullish divergence right there. Okay. So do I look for next move up? Let's see what the 4 says. Yeah, not showing strength on its own, actually. I would have expected Luna to be one of the better ones just by the nature of it, having kind of the better last month or so. Let's see. All right, so where would I call this one? Very likely confirming the next major low right here on a daily, actually, and probably even a weekly as well. Yeah, maybe not a weekly, a 5-day. Come on, 5-day, populate, please. Yeah, okay. Okay, 4-hour closure back above your prior range highs at 79.25 would do it for me with targets back up towards, $90 plus. Until then, this one's actually not the best one, funnily enough, or maybe not funnily enough. Hidden bearish divergence right there will be confirmed, especially with any sort of a closure below 70.85, very likely implying another retest of your $63 targets. Yeah, I remember we were looking at a correction at this one last week to $70. So this one actually overshot my corrective targets. Not so much on a closing basis, but certainly on a week basis. If it does fail that region, I would be looking for next move down towards $56 to $58, somewhere around there in a bounce. But for right now, I mean, I'd still give it a chance on the short term. If you see it above those regions, it's going to start to look a lot more like this is going to be your next major low. Until then, any rally that fails to get back above there is, very likely to play out that hidden bearish divergence and problems below those regions. So as always, and kind of to wrap up the whole stream here, it's really going to come down to what Bitcoin does today, as usual for most altcoins. Not all of them, as always, but for most of them. And in this case, Bitcoin back above 43,700 is what's really going to, at least in my opinion, start to imply that we may see some major bear traps across the lands of the cryptoscape, and you're probably going to see everything kind of move with it. Until then, short-term moves the upside are completely fine. We see bullish divergences building up on several time frames that very likely play out either today or tomorrow. which can test around there, but we need to see closures above that region. Otherwise, it's just another failed lower high and would just be a retest here 55 after breaking it, and very likely imply much further downside price action from there, in fact. And again, keep your eyes on the global open interest over here. Still want to see this one come down, at least another billion, preferably a little bit more than that, before I start to look for like major and potentially macro lows. So as always, today is going to be one of those days where I'd strongly suggest there's no need to be a hero. Be safe, and again, just know those areas that are going to confirm or deny whatever current plan that you have. I have my own right here, obviously. And with that said, I'll be signing off now. I want to wish everyone well yet again. Take care, and until next time.
Write it, code it, name it, tweet it, mine it, stack it, live it, dream it, post it, scan it, charge it, send it, do it, and receive it. Trade it, buy it, sell it, store it, run it, list it, first rename it. Crypto logic. Pump it, hack it, lose it, dump it, sell it, ditch it, XR pitch it, copy, paste it, nudge it, test it, build it, try it, bend it, fork it, hype it, pump it, dump it, rinse, repeat, but quick relocate.